amount that would be within the budget that was allowed, that you could then vote on it on the May 26th meeting. And I would encourage you to take those steps to try to restore the funding and to not delay until the 2030 time frame that was proposed. That's all I had. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. The next several are all Main Street, and we'll have that open for discussion on its own agenda. Becky Dittmer.
Hello, I'm Becky Dittmer, and I too would like to propose that the Arboretum come up for review again. I was very disappointed in the dismissal of it in the April 14th board meeting. There was no conversation about it, there was no discussion at all, and there had been a lot of time put into planning it by several committees, and to have it referred to as a few trees, I was shocked by that, and I was angered by it because it's way more than a few trees. And if you've seen the plans, which have been on display here in Town Hall and also at various events here in Berthoud several times, you'd know that there's a whole lot more to it than just a few trees. The fact that it was then said that it was paused for financial constraints. Specifically, Richardson Park is going to put a huge financial burden on our town. And the people don't even get to vote on that because I understand that the way it's going to be funded is through COPS bonds, which is not something we get to vote on. A smaller pool at the rec center, which had been discussed at an earlier board meeting for a whole lot less money that would not put a financial strain on the town, would work fine. So I don't understand why that isn't being discussed as well. There was a comment made also that we are in a severe drought, and so it's not a good time to plant new trees, that it would require a lot of water. But then I don't understand why a water park is okay, because that's going to require a lot of water too. Possibly more. I don't know. I don't know how to compare. The land for the Arboretum was sold to the town by the Wagner family. Jane Valier, a Wagner, wrote an excellent letter to the editor, which I ask you to refer to in the Berthoud Surveyor, April 23rd, 26 edition. I've lost confidence in the board, and I'm hopeful in the new members that there will be a balance brought to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dittmer. Last, Ann Karspek, 1 Main Street. Well, it could be its own category, but if you'd like to speak to the Arboretum.
Hi, I think I've Ann Karspek, 706 8th Street. Do we have to say our address anymore? If
No, you don't.
It? Okay. I think everybody knows that I'm very for the Arboretum. I too was shocked to find that was so quickly dismissed. I understand budgets. I understand that the amount that came in was higher than expected. But last time I checked, everything that we've ever come in, they come in high, and then you guys work it down. So I think that can definitely be, reassessed as it should be. Again, I'll second everybody else's comment on the water. There's actually shares of water allocated for this project. So that's not an issue. We're not taking from anybody else to supply the Arboretum. What was the third? I'd also bring up again that this is Parks and Rec is number 1 on the survey of important items for all residents. So we need to put our money where our mouth is and understand that this is a push from all the residents. They have spoken. We need to be listening to that. And I understand that it was just an arbitrary date to put it out there to 2030. I think I will now arbitrarily say, let's bring it back at the next board meeting. Let's just pick a date, but I just think we should really invest now, just as we are thinking about Richardson and other amazing projects such as Newell Farm. This has all been budgeted for. We've talked about how that could be paid for. So I don't appreciate, and I also think that we really need to be mindful of revoking quickly when so much time and effort has been put on the table for things that are very important, not just for me as a mother of children who walks all the time in this community and wants them to have shade with, global warming. We cannot have this kind of heat without thinking about a canopy to, shelter. It's actually, in the long term, a very affordable option. And the longer we wait, the more money we will spend to ever get this back. So 2030 is 4 years from now. Interest rates are not going to suddenly make it cheaper. Everything is going to go up. So if we're truly being financially responsible, then I want us to, let's bring it back to the table. Let's skew down where we need to, but know that the resources are there. And it's important that we act now and not later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have no one else signed up tonight for citizen participation. Thank you for everyone who did speak up tonight. The rest are specifically for Main Street, and of course, we'll open that up to the public too. We'll move on now to consent. Would trustees like anything removed from consent?
Yes. I would.
Okay.
Sorry, I've got several questions. E, D, F, and G, please, on the consent agenda.
Okay, E, D, F, and G.
H as well.
Oh boy. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay.
I would ask that we remove what is C,
Okay.
as I have a conflict with that one.
Okay. Okay, so we have items A and B under consent right now. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve consent? Items C, D, E, F, G, and H?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve
And,
consent
sorry,
items.
be like Bravo, you need to be removed as well.
I'll make a consent to approve item A.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Trustee Wing, seconded by Trustee Anderson. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. Okay, items removed from consent will be considered next. So, Trustee Grace, the April 28th meeting minutes?
Yes, I actually wanted to have additions entered into the public record from those meetings. So the first one is agenda item 5 on the backflow prevention. I wanted to include Trustee Grace raised that the proposed ordinance language identified only HOAs and that metro districts being legally distinct under the Colorado revised statutes would not be covered. And then I requested that the relevant section be amended to specifically identify to make sure that metro districts were not inadvertently exempt from the new code requirements. And then in addition, agenda item 6 from that meeting, the drought response plan, I wanted to make sure that it was in the public record that I did ask whether we had a drought plan with defined trigger thresholds. It was noted by Director Matthews that the town does not have a formal plan. We kind of discussed the triggers and how to review them, and that he recommended not doing quantitative. But I did note that it would be good to have attention on this topic, and it would be proactive to formalize a plan for that. Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht also expressed support for this, and Trustee Murphy requested that Director Matthews provide the board with a draft memo to serve as a baseline for this drought plan with the tiered levels, response levels. So Director Matthews indicated he would provide that during the Water 101 session, probably at the end of May.
Fair enough. Clerk, do you have any questions on that as being in charge of the minutes?
I believe that's clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Should we vote on these one by one then? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's, is there a motion to approve item B?
Make a motion to approve item B with the specified changes.
Second.
All right. Trustee Wing has voted on item Wing. Trustee Anderson has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on that?
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes. Excellent. Item number C, the Habitat for Humanity grant application letter of support. Trustee Anderson?
I am going to recuse myself from that decision as I am vice chair of Habitat and have an inherent conflict. So
All right, thank you.
if you want to discuss that now, I will leave.
Up to you. Does she have to leave?
As long as you don't try to influence the vote or say
Okay.
anything,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's just one item really quickly.
Okay,
Okay.
great. I have no questions regarding it. I think it's just fantastic. Very good. Okay, does anyone want to move on item C?
Move on motion to accept item C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Trustee Wing has moved. Trustee Grace has seconded. Clerk, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Abstain.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes, excellent. Item D, March 2026 financial information. Is that Trustee Grace?
Yes, that would be me. I just actually have questions on, so I know it was added as just an FYI and to be, approved, but I've got
Sure.
a couple of
Go ahead.
questions on some of the, like, administrative other categories where we are over budget, and I'm just curious what administrative costs have, thank you, sorry, what administrative costs have been incurred that has put us over budget in those categories. So specifically economic development, recreation, water ops, wastewater. And then also the public safety, but we are actually really under what we had budgeted. And I'm wondering if it's because there's something going on later in the year that we planned for, and it just hasn't come up yet in the expenses.
All right.
I'm not.
Sure, Kirk. You have a lot right now. But,
Could you point to what you're referencing in the documents just so I can be specific?
Which ones were over? Economic development, you were saying?
Yeah, so it's a lot of the admin. So we've got 3 in admin, general office, elections total. Then we have economic development, admin, other. And then admin other for recreation, water ops, wastewater.
I'm sorry, I'm still not sure what you're referencing. Could you maybe just point out a page number or a?
All right, just a second.
And
Okay, so sorry, I can answer this. So I had looked at the financials compared to the budget book 2026, which has the budget in it, and compared where we are versus what the budget is. So things like recreation, let's see. Nope, I grouped them all together. They are more administrative. So let me get to the certain page here. Okay, so for example, on page 19 of our packet, this is actually just in the general office, other, I'm just curious to know, it's just really, it's just over budget, so I'm wondering if there was just unplanned expenses or things are costing more than we anticipated this year.
my suspicion is, and I don't have, as you know, our budget is complex. There's a lot of line items that go into that summary total that you see on that, and maybe you don't know, so I shouldn't make that assumption. There are several different line items, excuse me, within the budget that are lumped together in summary in that report that you're referencing, where it says general office other. I don't know. I can certainly get that answer for you. My assumption is that it is related to insurance payments, based on the way it's identified here. What you're looking at is not over budget in the sense that it's over budget in total. It is over budget in the year-to-date actual versus year-to-date budget. But for simple explanation, if a budget line item was $1.2 million for the entire year, then we would break that down $100,000 per month. That doesn't mean that we expect to spend $100,000 a month. Sometimes we have a $300,000 expense one month and no expenses the next 2 months, right? So those fluctuate. So when you look at year-to-date actual versus year-to-date budget, all that's doing is highlighting, hey, there may be something that we're going through a burn rate too fast, right? If we were expecting to spend $100,000 a month, that's easier on salaries, right? Which is a much more consistent expense. If you look at admin salaries, for instance, we're 29% under budget, but that's because we have some unfilled positions. And so on general office other, there are some different line items in there that might be larger one-time expenses rather than a consistent expense every month. So it may show as over budget year to date from kind of purely a burn rate standpoint, but that doesn't mean it's over budget for the year. So I actually don't know the answer specifically to what you're asking, but I'm happy to dig into those and send the board an update on where those variances occur.
I can send you a list of
That'd be great.
the specific ones.
Thank
Yep.
Just to clarify, Administrator Kirk, so what you're saying is that we are really looking at year to date against year actual, and then we are also looking at maybe fluctuations that it might be seasonal depending on what that particular expenditure is.
Yep.
So you might have to be front loaded on certain things because of when they happen, and it would taper off during the year and hopefully meet budget.
100%. Yeah.
A glaring example of that is the Larimer County Sheriff. We've got budgeted $800,000. The actual's at $0. So we are gonna spend the $800. We're just not there yet, and so
And that makes sense.
yeah, sometimes there's a catch up on some of these things, and I think your point in bringing this up probably wouldn't hurt for each one of these. If there's something that's got a significant delta, we probably should have a quick discussion on it, and Administrator Kirk typically has the answer right off the top of his head. But I think it's a very good point you brought up.
Yes,
Yeah,
just so.
I think it's a little tough if we could send those out. I think we're all interested in it, but give Administrator Cook a chance to dive in a little bit
Sure.
deeper.
Yeah. If you'll send me the list, I'll bring it back at your next meeting. Go through every one of them.
Okay.
That work? Okay, and that was item D.
Make a motion to accept item D into the consent agenda items.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Trustee Wing has moved. Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht is second. Quick, can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. All right, thank you, Trustee Grace. On item E, local planning grant from DOLA, shared deliverable land and water banking memorandum. Who has to pull that?
Trustee Grace too.
Okay.
I might have been confused with Be Like Bravo. No.
Make
Nope,
a,
that
make
probably
a
was.
motion to accept item E into the consent agenda items.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. Sorry.
All right, Trustee Wing has moved again. I think it was by a hair, Trustee Anderson on that
Yeah,
one.
that's all right.
Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes.
And just one comment on that. I wanted to thank the development staff for their hard work on that. I know that was something too that came out of the comprehensive plan and the housing diversity study, and that one of the strategic goals that was, or long-term, I think was that one of our short-term and long-term goals in that plan was the land and water banking, and I really appreciated how thorough you were in this memo.
Yeah, good job. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you for saying that, too. Item F, CDOT Highway 56 maintenance agreement.
Yeah, that one was me. Just wanted to confirm, I don't know when the last time this was signed. Just wanted to make sure, Administrator Kirk, do you have authority to execute this without a separate resolution? Does it require any additional?
I think if you approve it, we can sign it.
Okay, perfect.
That work for you?
Sure does.
Okay, great. Motion to approve item F.
Make a motion to approve item F for the consent item.
Second.
Second.
All right. Trustee Wing has moved. Trustee Grace is seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote? Item F.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sally Albrecht,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes. Item G, approval of amendment to Applied Controls and Engineering Professional Services Agreement.
This is a small one, but I just noted that the signature block still reads enter business name. I just wanted to make sure that that was noted so that it was correct.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of things we'd like to correct about that agreement, so I was going to pull that anyway. So I appreciate you taking it off. What I would like to suggest is that you approve you authorize the town administrator contract with Applied Controls for the amount referenced in the agreement, subject to the final approval of the agreement by the town attorney.
All right. And I'm sure those blanks and stuff will be corrected too. Trustee Grace, does this work for you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve item G?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Anderson has moved. Trustee Grace has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sally Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes, thank you. Item H, limited waiver and consent of potential conflict between HPWC Hick Legacy Water Regional Authority.
That was me. I just wanted to bring up the nature of our entanglement with Hicks Legacy Regional Water Authority. I was unaware of that organization. I haven't come across that name before. Yes. Could you elaborate on it?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can because we were not aware either that Berthoud was involved in this group. So I don't know. Ken probably is the best one to ask those questions. And
I can address some of that.
okay, sorry.
Excuse me. This is a group of agencies that have been working together informally on studying a regional water treatment facility, and there are now some documents being formed. But the attorney for the Hicks Legacy Water Regional Authority is also in the same firm as Kendra and Catherine, and so there needs to be a conflict waiver.
Yeah, so to clarify, the authority actually doesn't exist.
That's
And
right.
so my law partner is actually special counsel to every entity that's part of trying to create that. And the documents that are, the reason why this came to our attention, the documents that are being circulated are the establishment agreement to establish the authority.
Okay. And I believe we've talked about this broadly in prior utilities presentations from Ken and his team, but because this authority doesn't exist yet and we're participating, trying to decide whether or not this is something we want to do, you haven't had that. We haven't presented that to you with a recommendation to participate formally or not.
I think I'm good with it.
Okay. Thank you for pulling that. It makes it, you brought this up about the regional group here, but this is good to know. Okay. Is there a motion to approve item H?
I'll move to approve item H.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Murphy has moved on item H. Trustee Grace has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sally Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes. Thank you. All right, consent is approved. Now we'll move on to item number 2, Main Street 3-year presentation and funding request. Whitney Way. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to the board for allowing us to speak this evening. Thank you to everyone who showed up tonight to show your support or ask questions or give public comment. My name's Katie Hiddleman. I'm a business owner and resident of Berthoud. I'm here tonight as one of 9 current Berthoud Main Street board members to hopefully shine a light on the Main Street program as a whole, what we're trying to accomplish, and ask for your support. Can I ask for those on the current Main Street board to stand up real quick and give a wave? Our Main Street group is comprised of not only business owners in the downtown area, but also residents, local history representatives, past members of other towns' Main Street programs, and even past members of the town's board. We have taken it upon ourselves to reach back out to the DOLA, the Department of Local Affairs, to try and reestablish or start a new Berthoud's Main Street program, which did exist and operate in downtown Berthoud years ago. Many may not be aware, but just some of their initiatives and achievements included getting the flower planters, benches, and bike racks installed downtown, the medallions in the downtown sidewalk, downtown street lampposts, originating the downtown Berthoud Farmers Market, and running the Snowfest event, which we are excitedly talking about hoping to bring back. But our main combined goal is to strengthen the vitality of the downtown area for our entire community, while also preserving its unique character. In order to achieve this, it's essential that a partnership is formed between Berthoud Main Street and the town of Berthoud. Part of that partnership does include a financial ask, yes, but we also need to work together to align efforts to enhance and preserve the downtown. During this presentation, we'll aim to highlight some opportunities to help bring more people downtown, increase awareness of what's existing, and things like art and community events that can be added to attract people and businesses to the area. We love to be able to increase connectivity between the people that live here, the people that visit here, the people that own existing businesses here, and future businesses that might want to be here, downtown organizations, local nonprofits, and the town. Are we talking about overhauling downtown efforts currently in place? No, we're just hoping to streamline existing efforts, create a better way to communicate and work together. Are we asking for a bunch of extra taxpayer dollars to get things accomplished? Not necessarily. The town's already investing in things like holiday lighting, facade and sign incentives, maintenance, upcoming capital projects. One requirement of the Main Street program is that we employ a part-time program manager to be a liaison between our community and the larger Main Street program. You'll see a line item for that in our financial ask. But what you won't see is the monetary benefit of having passionate committees and a Main Street board work solely voluntarily with combined goal to enhance downtown Berthoud. And as Main Street, a nonprofit, we'll have the opportunity to take advantage of Main Street partner benefits, including exclusive grants, free help with strategic planning, architectural guidance for projects, and continuing education. Things that the town wouldn't be able to have access to alone. Why wouldn't the town want to take advantage of this partnership? Now I'd like to introduce a few folks from Colorado Main Street who've been extremely helpful and supportive of our ongoing efforts, who can share a little bit more about the program and some of the beneficial resources. We have Gail Langley and Tracy Stoffel joining us.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Whitney, for that introduction. Thank you, Mayor Karsbeck, and all of the trustees. I am Gail Langley, and this is Tracy Stoffel, and we are housed within the Department of Local Affairs. So we're going to go through these really quick. We have spoken with you before. It's been some time, and there's been a few changes. But really what Whitney is speaking about is, you know, looking at the Berthoud Board of Trustees. You guys are the stewards of your infrastructure. You're the stewards of your community. And where Main Street really resonates well, and what it really does is it builds that bridge and it builds that trust with a group of volunteers that are all engaged in wanting to make Berthoud better. And you've done so many things, and the Berthoud Main Street team has just done amazing accomplishments, and their request to us to enter the program is only going to strengthen this partnership between us, between the town, and between Berthoud Main Street. So we're going to cover our services real quick if you want to go to the next slide. So just a snapshot here quickly. Why does somebody want to be in the Main Street program? Well, it's a passion for people, and it's where their heart resides in wanting to make their community better. But we do offer many grants and scholarships, and you can read this slide. I think you guys can all see it from the screen where you're viewing. We offer $5,000 mini grants to our communities per year, and that is a 5-year contract. We're currently in year 1. We also offer professional development money, which doesn't have a match, that allows people to continue to grow and learn from the Main Street movement. And then our biggest, I think, one of our biggest things is our consulting services and technicals, assistance. When you get into the program or where you're getting close, we provide things like strategic planning and board development, depending upon where the community is. We also do on-call monthly calls with folks. We do monthly webinars. We provide continuing education every month. And then you can see some of the training and networking opportunities on the far right of that, which we'll get into in a little bit more in just a second. So in terms of organization, and you have a really strong board locally, we spent a lot of time. We came up and did an open house. You have such enthusiasm in your community. It was so heartwarming. We can do and specifically like to start with doing some strategic plan development for communities where they can look at the comprehensive plan for the town and develop their goals for what they can take on as a group of volunteers, and also engaging community members to participate. Again, we can do board development. We do facilitation between groups because this program is all about partnerships and connections. And what you can really do is reach out to the historic preservation, to the creatives, to folks in your community that want to just contribute in any way they can. And you have a lot of folks in your community that are really vested in wanting to live, stay, and work and play in Berthoud. Our on-cost support, our training webinars, and again, our scholarships, because we do require 2 professional development trainings a year. And we give you funding for that. As I said, it's $3,000 a year. Once to our annual summit in the fall, where all of our managers from across the state gather and share experiences, opportunities, challenges, resources, and things that they have done to overcome similar challenges in their neighborhood. And then we have the National Now Conference that's held. There was 2,200 people that attended nationwide from over 2,200 communities. And that is really a way to really get involved with the Main Street movement, as we like to call it. And then we also have other professional development opportunities where you can use that funding to attend Saving Places, which I know is very important in Berthoud. DCI in the game, EDCC. If there's funding still available, we can support those efforts. Tracy.
And we condensed our slides for time, but I am going to backtrack just a little, mention a couple of things to help put some of this into context real quickly. Gail's our program coordinator. I'm a Main Street specialist. We have another Main Street specialist, Matt Gordon, on our team, whose focus is really on the economic vitality portion of Main Street. And then Larry Lucas, whose focus is really on design, which is the next slide, please. And I'm covering for him because I wasn't able to join us tonight. And the other thing I wanted to put into context, Gail mentioned organization. Our slides are organized along the Main Street approach. Organization is the foundation and really kind of the start and be all and end all of getting things moving in your community. The remaining slides cover the other 3 points: design, promotion, and economic vitality. And so you can see here a little bit more about our services and benefits in the area of design, since it was founded basically on preserving our historical and traditional downtowns. But the technical and consulting services that Gail mentioned, you can see a list of the variety of things that we can support here. I think the pictures are certainly worth 1,000 words in this instance, where you can see some conceptual drawings that was done by the University Technical Assistance Program, then supported by our Main Street architect, Larry, and then some consulting services providing construction bid documents that were then later used to leverage this concept for a town plaza to apply for grants to actually implement it, as you can see in the bottom picture. Next slide, please. I mentioned Larry as being one of the services that we have to offer our communities. And you can see here a word cloud that he put together based on like a year's worth of his services and actions that he's done to help our main streets across Colorado. So you can see really big there: preservation, history, guidance, building. He's very much into sustainability. He also, as I mentioned in the last one, will dip his toes into the landscaping portion, even though he says that he's not trained in that area. He's got an eye, and he's been doing this for about 15 years. We have some before and afters of, well, I should say befores and then conceptual drawings that and some AI generated images of things that he suggested for some of our communities and building and business owners across the state. Next slide, please. Then in terms of our services and benefits, the mini grants and scholarships, this is where really our focus, particularly for the mini grants, resides, is in that built environment, in that long-term investment near downtown. They are mini grants, so it's not going to, redo your entire accessibility, walkability, Main Street, but it will enhance those efforts to make it more of a place for people. And that's what we mean for placemaking, is something that it attracts people, makes them want to spend time there, and then hopefully spend money in your local businesses, right? And that's where our mini grants come in, and they can be leveraged to do all sorts of those tangible investments. And you can see some examples in these pictures here where they were used on the left to leverage an unfortunately now defunct CDOT Revitalizing Main Street grant to put a pocket park in Central City. But then in Leadville, where over the course of the years, they took those mini grants and just kind of over phases added different elements to a pocket park in their downtown. Gail already mentioned how the scholarships can help you all do design better in your community. Next slide. And so here you can see, again, some of those things that our communities have done with their mini grants or through those strategic efforts and goals and that they've pursued. Banners, hugely popular, a year-round ice / roller rink in Meeker there. Benches are always popular. I love this one in Hugo where they took old tailgates, wayfinding signage, a variety of things. Next slide, please. Murals, public art are also, a very big thing in our communities that our mini grants can support. I do want to mention here, you'll see a lovely flower basket. We can purchase the flower baskets, but not the flowers, right? It's those, or you could with your mini grants, I should say, because again, it's about that long-term investment and not anything that's transitory. Next slide, please. So that's kind of the design aspect of things, but we also help our communities with promotion. And you can see here, part of that is helping with branding and kind of messaging your Main Street, your community. And we've helped leverage that some more with some promotional videos. And this year, for the first time, we're also helping out with communications plans as well for our communities. Next slide, please.
And this is
oh, sorry.
No, keep going if you want. That's fine.
No, I please.
You're on a roll. We're on a roll. And the last one is economic vitality. And really, there could be 15 slides on this because everything points to economic vitality. I mean, that's what you're striving for, right? Is to make a vibrant, wonderful downtown for residents and visitors as well, to live, work, and play and really feel connected. And I think connected is one of the biggest words that we can say about Main Street. It does all of those. So you can see some of the list of services that we offer. We can do building and business inventories. We can provide ESRI data. We just got access to a license on that about 6 months ago. We can help people with pro forma through a redevelopment analysis through part of the Main Street staff to take a vacant building and actually put a pen to paper and start to think like a developer to say, what is this going to take? What are the funding gaps? And then we work tirelessly to try to find funding to make those businesses come to life. And between Matt and Larry's services on the design and development team, it takes some time, but we can help make things happen. And then, as Tracy mentioned earlier in one of the slides, we are also using AI to really streamline some of our architectural services. What used to take Larry a day to do on an iPad to sketch or draw something out, he can now do in about an hour. So we're able to provide a lot more technical assistance to our communities in terms of working with individual building owners. And with that, there's one slide with we love these two kudos for the Main Street program from both Donovan and Ed. And it's really an economic development tool that can help you envision and revitalize your downtown for the long term. So I'll turn it back over to Whitney.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Tracy and Gail. And board, my name is Whitney Way. So what does this look like in Berthoud? Once Berthoud's Main Street is an official Main Street community, we'll be able to unlock many of the resources outlined and work with DOLA in strategic planning sessions to dial in our guiding documents. Multi-year strategic plan, annual work plans. In terms of events, will be able to expand and support existing Berthoud Main Street events that bring people downtown, such as a Very Merry Berthoud, Chocolate Walk, Small Business Saturday, Art Walk, Snow Fest, and seasonal promotions. A Main Street program in Berthoud also means making it easier for residents and visitors to explore and experience downtown Berthoud through practical improvements and stronger promotion. These here on the slide are examples of existing and potential future promotion initiatives. Potential projects include better signage and wayfinding for businesses off Mountain Avenue, improved trash and recycling infrastructure, alley and streetscape enhancements, side street lighting, and support of historic preservation efforts. Again, to reiterate, Berthoud Main Street will need to be part of the official Main Street program for workshopping and resources to make these bigger initiatives a reality. Another item we'll review with Colorado Main Street is our program area. Berthoud Main Street's current area is focused on Berthoud's historic walkable downtown core, 1st Street to 10th Street in Massachusetts to Welch. This defined service area creates a practical and manageable starting point for program administration, reporting, and measurable impact as required by the Colorado Main Street program. Main Street boundaries are locally established and can evolve over time as the program grows and expands its economic impact. While this district area serves as the program's formal starting point, an active and energized downtown creates broader catalytic benefits for surrounding businesses, residents, organizations, and the larger Berthoud community. We want all Berthoud businesses to thrive and the entire northern Colorado region. Strengthening the core helps lift the broader community through increased visibility, tourism, local spending, and long-term economic resilience. Our DOLA representatives spoke on the how we become an official Main Street community some. Just to reiterate where our organization is at currently, Berthoud Main Street is an aspiring Main Street community. This partnership is the key step that positions Berthoud to unlock larger opportunities. The proposed 3-year partnership provides the stability needed to meet official Main Street program requirements, notably dedicated support from the town of Berthoud, a 3-year funding strategy, and the requirement to hire a paid program manager. Berthoud Main Street is requesting a 3-year financial partnership with the town, with an annual ask of approximately $85,000 to provide foundational support for operations and a paid program manager. This is a shared investment, not full town funding, and Berthoud Main Street will continue pursuing grant sponsorships and other funding. This proposed amount is based on projected expenses and revenues and may ultimately go up or down based on trustee direction. Partial funding is impactful. Larger future projects and strategic downtown investments would be pursued collaboratively and funded separately. Downtown Berthoud is an economic driver for our entire community. A strong downtown supports residents, businesses, nonprofits, visitors, and town revenue. To provide an example, my own downtown business generated just over $25,000 in Berthoud-specific sales tax revenue last year alone. When downtown businesses succeed, Berthoud sees real returns. We respectfully ask the Board of Trustees to support this partnership and consider a motion for the town of Berthoud to provide financial support for the Berthoud Main Street program at approximately $85,000 annually for 3 years. We tried to keep this brief to allow for as much Q&A as you have. I might not be able to answer every question, but our board is here tonight, and we cover a broad range of backgrounds, so hopefully we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you.
And Gail and Tracy are on the call as well to answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, there might be questions about the specific ask. Does anyone have any questions off the bat? I'd like to pull up their...
Just a couple, but
yeah, go ahead.
Do whatever you want. As far as
Clerk, do you mind if we pull up the letter to the board?
Yeah.
It has the more bullet points on it with the specific amounts. Just in case there's questions.
That's kind of where my question was going.
I had an additional question.
Trustee Murphy.
For this ask for taxpayers' money, what kind of deliverables is Main Street going to present before the townspeople?
Are you referring to projects or reporting?
I'm just wondering if you guys had discussed that sort of thing.
Yeah, so to get to this ask, we do, and I can hand it to you. We have a list, spreadsheet of projected expenses and projected revenues. This is, and I've discussed this with a couple of folks on the board, but we're really in a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario. To do this workshopping and this strategic planning, we first need to check off certain boxes to become a Main Street community, to really dial everything in. But yeah, let me. Should I not provide something that's not provided beforehand for the board packet? I guess.
Well, it's not a public hearing. I don't see.
I think it's fine.
That's fine.
Pass it out, and then
Okay.
we'll have a copy available for.
I have extra copies, so I'll leave some copies here for the public as well.
So there are also checks and balances, correct me if I'm wrong, Gail or Tracy, through the Main Street program where we do have to be checking in and giving them updated strategic plans on a regular basis. So I assume you guys would also get a copy of that. And like Whitney had mentioned, once we are officially a Main Street program, then we are able to do the workshop through DOLA to kind of help us. We've already started on our strategic plan, but to tweak it and get it more professional and make it work better.
I'm sorry, you might have said this and I missed it. How often do you provide those updates to DOLA? Is it
Maybe
like
We do.
Gail or Tracy might know.
We check in monthly with our managers, and then we also do require quarterly reporting. And part of that quarterly reporting in terms of deliverables, to answer your question, over time as the program gains momentum, we do track sales tax within the boundaries, within the town of Berthoud. And we track businesses that are gained or lost, jobs that are gained or lost. All of that is part of what Berthoud Main Street would be accountable to us to, but could show you the impact as the program grows over time. Tracy, do you have any more to add to that?
I think that's a great summary, Gail, and certainly what's reflected in our quarterly reports. They also report on a narrative in terms of that strategic plan and those strategic priorities that are identified and aligned with town comprehensive plan that might identify some of those implementable strategies that Whitney mentioned that they've identified could be considered deliverables that would benefit the town as well in terms of those steps to achieve the strategic priorities within their plan.
We also track, and what they report on, Berthoud Main Street also reports on events and estimated. You can't ever get a specific head count, but we all know when people visit a community, they're spending money. At least they hope they do. And we are very conservative in what numbers we use from the tourism office or from the state in terms of whether or not it's an overnight stay. We don't even consider that. But over time, as events are promoting Berthoud, which we help with, and bringing people into town, that's going to create the cash registers to ring with the businesses. And then again, increase sales tax for those and make everyone successful.
I'll just add one more component that has come up in terms of deliverables is a lot of the really exciting things that are within the design pillar of Berthoud Main Street. Those are going to be some of the larger projects and initiatives, and not necessarily one-off annual operation expenses. Our largest expense on here is the program manager position, which is a requirement to join Berthoud Main Street. Are there any questions? I apologize. I went back and forth on whether it was too much information to include this in the packet or not. Okay. Yeah, because it's a little confusing because the projected expenses are greater than the ask, and I've had really great conversations with town manager Chris Kirk to dial in. Well, we need to have sponsorships and funding supporting town events. Events can't be fully town funded, because another development that has occurred last year, A Very Merry Berthoud, was a collaborative event, and the town took on a lot of those costs. It is still a collaborative event this year, but Berthoud Main Street is now kind of leading that. So a Very Merry Berthoud line item, there is a $19,000 line item for a Very Merry Berthoud on here. Then there is a large line item for event sponsorships below as well. So offsetting that, but.
I have a couple questions.
Trustee Wing, please.
Just to kind of follow up on Trustee Murphy and Trustee Grace's comments. By the way, nice presentation, and I think this is one of the most important things for the town. I mean, without thriving businesses, you don't have a town. So really appreciate all your efforts on this. But, annually to come back to the board and show us like the actuals against the budgets, and what I mean that in two aspects. One is, how did you do to these? You did a nice job of detailing your expenses. So how did you do on those? We thought we'd spend 35 on program manager. What did we really spend? So I would think the board would want you to come back and on each one of those items, itemize them and say, here's what we budgeted, here's what we came back. These numbers also don't tie out in this sheet to these exact numbers, and I'm assuming the reason for that is because you're sharing some of the costs in that. That's probably the reason for that. And then maybe you can help us quantify how these funds were used. Again, same thing stated, just slightly different. Hey, we committed to these dollars, and then you come back to us and say, here's how we used those funds. And then I think one of the points was, how do you quantify some return on this investment for the town? And so again, you've got a lot of things here listed, maybe with the events, and you come back, and I'm making this up, but last year the artwork had 12,000 people. This year it had 25 because of all these things we did, marketing, advertising. So if you can come up maybe with a set of goals that we could see you come back and report into us, it just shows us that we're, investing the citizens' money prudently and to benefit the town.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when there's an ask for public funds, I think public scrutiny is important. Yeah. And on our website, this letter has all been up there for the past week before it was posted with the agenda. Right. And thankfully, thankfully, the Main Street program has a lot of reporting requirements, but absolutely there needs to be transparency in public reports.
And I wonder, it's a 3-year commitment, which I think, you need that commitment sometimes to do your planning, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know if there's something where you can come back after a year and say, yes, this was a success. This was a good investment for the town. Just kind of like a walk before we run, 1 year instead of 3. But I get it. It's easy. Years go by fast, and you have to plan out, and you have to make commitments for multi-years. So I get that. And then for the actual funding of this, would you see that as an as need basis, or would you see a lump sum up front, like on January 1 or something, or had you thought through that?
I think some of that, and I don't know if you'd want to speak to that based on your experience. This is Melissa Feldbush, prior chamber director, and she worked with Laramie Main Street.
Yeah, so I think we also discussed this with the town administrator, Chris Kirk, to what would be the best way to go about doing that. For logistics purposes, I've seen it done a couple ways. There's certain line items that may be a lump sum upfront, and then other items that may be event-driven sponsorships that come just for the events. So I think we could do it a variety of ways, but we're also flexible to honestly, whatever support we can get, we'll make it work. So if that's a lump sum, great. If it's some other method that you would prefer, we'll find a way to make it work.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And ultimately, we frame this as a partnership because it truly needs to be successful. So the town is, yes, Main Street helped. Main Street 1.0 helped create the flower pots downtown, but town staff is the one filling them every year. So there has to be, close connection. And to go along with this, what Administrator Kirk and Melissa and I discussed was having a town staff member, a board liaison to the board. And so it's been great to have town staff attending our meetings. And then to also have a trustee is an ex officio board member on our Main Street board as well. So some extra points of connectivity. And I had some other thoughts to what you said, but I forgot them a few questions ago.
Thank you. Sorry.
I do have a question. If we thought about past the 3 years, what's the state sustainability? How are we going to continue to fund that manager position? And what are we looking at past that initial kickoff?
Absolutely. And I remembered one question. You do approve the town budget annually. So even though we ask for a 3-year commitment, obviously we're approving the town budget annually as trustees. We actually have discussed this with Gail and Tracy, so they might chime in as well. But that's where we really need to work on our other funding mechanisms. But one of the things that they said is, given, the experience they've seen in other Main Street communities, the value of Main Street really shows itself once it's up and running, and the community can see what's possible.
Tracy, you've had your hand up. Maybe you want to, I won't interrupt. I'll let you go first.
Well, and I was going to say, and I'm going to back up here a little bit because I was just going to mention the transparency and the reporting requirements again. We do require all of our Main Street communities to report to provide an annual report to the town. So that's part of our requirements as well. And I think, again, we expect that collaboration. And so I think you could let Berthoud Main Street know what your expectations are to be included in that report. And that annual report is a minimum. They do provide quarterly reports to us. And so, it could be logical to have them report quarterly to you. Some communities also have people check in monthly. I think the one thing to keep in mind, and just to kind of build upon that idea of 3 years, it's like, this is the long game. It's not, a grant where you check off and you're, one and done. Hey, we installed the flower pots. Yay, we're done. It's a way of approaching your community and economic development for your downtown. And it's really, part of that application process is ensuring that the long-term sustainability of the program within a community, and hence kind of that 3-year idea of a commitment from the town. That collaboration goes on throughout the entire lifespan of a Main Street program. Some of our Main Streets, again, it's an approach. I always give the examples of Steamboat and Brush. They've been in the program longer than the program's been housed in DOLA. So it really is a way of approaching it. And it's where they have, and again, it's where there's great collaboration between the town and the Main Street to move those forward. Gail, anything I missed?
You took some of the words out of my mouth. I would maybe offer, if there are questions and you really wanted to talk to other cities or towns, we could certainly connect you with a few other communities like Ridgeway, Trinidad, Steamboat. We have 32 official communities. If you really wanted to chat with them about how Main Street and the local government have worked collaboratively and brought in other partners to really make a difference. And Steamboat's probably our shining example. They were a GAMSA finalist this year. But the program, when it works, and you have such a committed Berthoud Main Street team there, that I have just been, for lack of a better word, blown away at their enthusiasm and their passion and what they really want to achieve in Berthoud. And they're only going to achieve that with your partnership.
I do have a few questions, but first I wanted to say thank you. Your enthusiasm and your commitment to Berthoud really is evident from your presentation, and I very much appreciated. But I do have a few questions. I want to make sure I totally understand the scope. So you did, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did mention that the businesses that would be eligible for benefits would be those from, was it 1st to 10th Street and from Mass Ave to Welch? Is that correct?
So we have to set a program area, and that's something that can evolve. And it's tough because as we go out from 10th, there's businesses beyond 10th. We had a conversation about the DDA area that we were considering a couple years ago when some of us presented to the board about the possibility of a downtown development authority. We've also talked about being continuity, so the continuity of businesses downtown in that historical walkable downtown, going up along 2nd and then going west, especially as we develop out west. Main Street uses the terminology historic walkable downtown. There is not necessarily a set of benefits per se. I mean, it's something that we still need to explore. What will, some initiatives should support the whole business community, what will largely support historic downtown. If we're doing a beautification project downtown, does it make sense that it goes into every corner of town? But I mean, the boundary area is something that I think we do need to discuss and explore more during our strategic planning session. I don't know if anybody else, yeah.
And to get on the topic of inclusion and exclusion, when our downtown Berthoud area succeeds, we all succeed. That means businesses outside of that zoned area. We talked about the events that we've been putting together. We're always inviting the other businesses to be part of those events. We have a monthly community meeting where anybody's invited, and we can talk about trials and tribulations among business owners. It's not just business owners that come to the events either. This helps families outside of that zoned area. They're coming downtown to do things, to spend money. It's bringing people into Berthoud from other towns. So there's a lot of benefits that exceed whatever the zoned area is that we end up deciding on. And again, that zoned area might change, but we have to pick something as a starting point.
No, I appreciate that. I was going to, you answered the question, my next question, which was if a business wanted to be involved in an event, if they would be allowed to be involved in a particular event. If they're outside.
And I'll just give you an example of something that's come up that's not on this spreadsheet, but today I had a call with a company that offers downtown credit cards. So a Visa card program that I envision could be great to be used across Berthoud, any Berthoud business, for example.
Is that kind of the Fort Collins?
Fort Collins, yeah, it's the same company that Boulder and Colorado Springs works with, but something that we have some shop local programs in town, but it could elevate that, where somebody could purchase a gift card. I mean, imagine any company purchasing gift cards at the holidays for all their employees, or I would buy my kids gift cards to have since they don't have bank accounts, but that could be used at any business that has that takes credit cards. So that's just an example of something that we could pioneer as Berthoud Main Street that would support all of our Berthoud businesses.
Appreciate that answer.
Lots of ideas and dreams, and really we're just a passionate group of people who care about our town and our downtown.
So you've described it somewhat, but how do you envision the town's participation in this? You've talked about having someone from town staff attend meetings, discussions. You talked about having the town board member as an ex officio member. How would they be involved in, let's say, in planning an event? What would that interplay be?
We can mention Very Merry. Well, yesterday we had a planning meeting for a Very Merry Berthoud with 2 town staff. So that's a collaborative event that's really special and still evolving, but that's one example. And I think it will continue to evolve as, honestly, we're kind of figuring certain things out. Again, going back to this chicken and egg scenario where we need certain things to be an official Main Street community, but to be an official Main Street community, we need to establish this partnership. And it is helpful to hear from the town trustees and town staff what you guys think this partnership, what you think will make it successful also. It shouldn't just be coming from us. I think having resident input and other input would be helpful as well.
You had mentioned people that come to the meetings, including people that have a historic preservation interest. Is that something that is going to be incorporated, like on your board, or does that work?
Absolutely. And that's one of the items that I think will largely come up when we are able to dig into the design portion. So the Main Street program is 4 pillars, and the design pillar, historic preservation, lives there. And so we don't have a historic preservation item that is an annual operating expense. But there's definitely, we have a historic church in the middle of downtown. And so there's more to come. Historic preservation is an important part of Main Street. I don't know if Gail and Tracy, if you guys want to speak on that at all. I don't see it.
I was going to say, and just because I took design, normally if Larry were on, he'd be addressing this for us. We did remove. We could talk about Main Street for hours. A little bit about real quickly, the history of Main Street is it was founded by the National Trust for Historic Preservation as a way to preserve our historic buildings in our downtowns. It evolved into this 4-point approach, and it's really about the businesses as well, right? Because those buildings are only as good as what's living in them. And so, yes, preservation is fundamental to the entire concept of Main Street. And it's one of the reasons we look at that traditional walkable downtown in terms of that aspect. And we always love to see historic preservation, or if there's board members that cross liaison, or historical society, if there's not a historic preservation board. That is a lot of what Larry does in support of our communities, is advises on best approaches for facade improvements or building rehabilitation for our Main Street communities. So very fundamental to what we do.
Absolutely.
So make sure I understand. Are we saying then that, for example, like the Berthoud Historical Society or the Berthoud's Historical Preservation Advisory Committee can be involved or has been involved in and would be involved in some of those decisions?
Yeah, largely in the past few years, it's largely been with events. So Chocolate Walk is a ticketed event we do in February. And that has, the museum has seen a huge increase in traffic that day. Same with A Very Merry Berthoud last year. They had carolers in the courtyard. But yeah, absolutely. The Historical Society and HPAC are important partners. So, I know sometimes it's easy. We are a nonprofit, and I would caution against referring to Berthoud Main Street as another nonprofit, because I think that I think of all the nonprofits working holistically together. Our town. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm sorry.
For instance, so we have some of our meetings at the library, and we have somebody here who's from the chamber. Like, we really, our intention originally when we were DBMC and now we're changing into Main Street was just to get all these groups to talk to each other and figure things out together and help each other and work collaboratively. So I think this is what's going to take us to the next level.
And I applaud you for that. I think that makes a lot of sense to have them all involved. Just a couple more questions, and I'll stop. Because again, I really do appreciate that you've gotten to this point, that you've formulated this, that you've thought through a lot of kind of the issues that would come up, that you've done your homework with DOLA. I totally appreciate that. We all mentioned reporting. And I know that our DOLA representatives have mentioned that there would be some type of annual report. And then maybe it would make sense for the town and you all and your board to sit down and decide what should be in that. Are you amenable to providing that type of annual report then to the town, particularly before we do budgeting?
Yeah, I think what Gail meant to say was it's up to you guys what you want us to provide to you. So really, I think we're flexible. We ask for help. You tell us what we need to do to get that help, and we'll make it happen.
Wonderful. Great.
Can I throw out one other thing that some of our other communities have done going into this program that I think is very strategic? And that is Berthoud Main Street sitting down with some folks from the trustees or the staff and really outlining a memorandum of understanding about what your expectations are of them and what their reporting and expectations and deliverables are back to you. And that's usually done in some of our nonprofit communities where they do the annual budget setting and look at the annual report, look at the annual statistics, look at the outputs and outcomes from what a Main Street program has done, and then sit down and roll up your sleeves and say, this is how we're going to work collaboratively together. So an MOU is kind of a great idea to get into some of the more intricacies of some of the questions that you're asking.
So thank you for that. So is that something that you all would be amenable to, is maybe working on some type of MOU?
Yeah, and Gail has provided us with an example that we've shared with Administrator Kirk as well, and I'm sure the legal team probably has input there, but absolutely.
Just my last question, and I promise I'm done. I noticed that you would be hiring some type of administrator or manager. So I'm guessing that your board would be hiring this person and supervising, managing that person, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And some of the things that we're talking about, reporting and some of these different things, this is why a program manager is required. We're all volunteers and we have families and we have jobs and we have businesses. And we're not doing this to just take up your time here at the town board meeting. We care about downtown. So a program manager, I understand why DOLA requires us to have it, because to be effective and efficient and to complete reports and do some of this, we need to hire that program manager. So our board of 9 will have to set up, once we secure funding, set up a hiring committee, and that hiring committee will be responsible for hiring a program manager. Program manager, we can start this as a part-time position. And will largely be responsible for being the point of communication between Berthoud, Main Street, DOLA, and the town board. So it's communication, and that connectivity is one of the largest pieces of the program manager role.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I've got one question.
Trustee Grace.
I love the presentation, and this is you all have done a wonderful job thinking through everything. So I echo a lot of what the trustees have already said. So I'm going to ask the hard question, which is, and Dola, if you all would like to jump in as well, has there been a town that has joined the Main Street program and not been successful within the 3 years? And what does it look like after that?
I can field that first and foremost. Well, a few years back, we did not have in our policy guidelines that we required to have a 3-year sustainable funding plan because we saw a couple of communities that had a volunteer manager struggling a bit because the demands of this job grow as they grow in the job and they extend their collaborations and partnerships. So we made that a policy just last year. Most of the time when you are in the program, if you're working well, you're part of our family of 32 communities, and we will work tirelessly that if you are having issues or problems, be it funding or volunteers or getting board members, we will be and come alongside of you to make sure that you can be sustainable. So I've only, in my 10 years here at DOLA, I've only seen one community kind of back away, and it was housed within the town because they lost their town planner. This program can be housed anywhere, but about half of them are in a local government and about half are nonprofits. And then we had another community that kind of lost direction from their board of trustees, and they stepped down from the program and called it, we're taking a pause until we can rebuild. And then they came back because the city saw the value and impact of what the community coming alongside the city can do together. And that's the power of Main Street. Anything to add, Tracy?
Well said.
Thank you for your response.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a sort of follow-up to Trustee Anderson's question about the structure of the board and how you guys establish as a board. Is everyone within that boundary included in participating in the election? Just understanding the foundational structure of how the board is chosen and how that is sustained as well.
Yeah, so to step back historically, there was a downtown organization, informal organization, Downtown Berthoud Merchant Collaborative. And last year, there's an existing Berthoud Main Street. And we opted to merge those two groups. So the leaders of those two groups came together to form a board. We have considered ourselves an interim board. So this July we'll be setting up or establishing a nominations committee and selecting a final board in October, I think is the bylaws, what the bylaws say. Bylaws, so seating that board to start at the beginning of the year. So just because we want the process to be inclusive. Who can join? Anyone can join. So we need to have a broad range of folks on our board. Trying to think if there's any other good notes.
We also have rotating amounts of time that board members will serve, so it won't be like after 2 years everybody's gone, you got to start from scratch. So obviously, like taken from you, that's a good idea to do it that way.
And our bylaws are listed on our website, so anybody can review them. And anybody can participate in Main Street, the meetings, or being a board member. There aren't rules about needing to be within a district or be a business member. So it is open to folks who want to roll up their sleeves and get to work, stakeholders in the community. So.
I'll add, we also have committees that are based on the 4 pillars of Main Street, and I'm not going to remember them off the top of my head. But we have committees of volunteers. So usually a board member is the head of that committee, but then whoever wants to serve on that committee, like we have a design committee, we have a promotions committee, which is where our events fall under. So anybody who's passionate about wanting to help with events can be on that committee. So you don't have to be one of the board members who are elected to participate.
Thank you.
Other questions? Nope. This is for Gail or Tracy briefly. Do you have an example of how a town could partner with, historic preservation group? We have our own committee, and I think most towns do. Just feeding off of Trustees Anderson's. They do a lot of parallel work. It would make sense if somehow one can feed off the other's designs.
We have so many examples. Okay. I just want to mention specifically, we even have a webinar scheduled for later this month on Tuesday, next week, Tuesday, at 11, where we talk about how certified local governments, which is a state recognized historic preservation board, and Main Streets work well together. And I would say, Cripple Creek is a good example. They recently joined the program, and it was initiated out of their historic preservation board, as was Fort Morgan, another one of our most recent communities, was initiated out of their historic preservation board as well, and grew to encompass, as Whitney indicated, it goes beyond preservation, right? So it's kind of all of those concerns and the people who are interested in our downtown or in their downtown. Steamboat does a great job, as a nonprofit, again, many years ago, initiated by the Historic Preservation Board, and collaborates on all of downtown. I think that that's, again, kind of key to all of our communities, really, is it works by those partnerships, by leveraging the people who are doing historic and making sure that, the partners all are working together. And I think that that's where they're most successful and what makes Main Street work. Gail?
Okay. Thank you. We also have some historic preservation folks in the audience tonight. So.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. I just want to make sure that the others would work together. And I do share a concern on just representation. I think it's great. You can open it up to other businesses, but I think it's also something else that you can see your own business potentially be on the board one day, or your area, I should say. So do you have examples of towns that have expanded their boundaries over time? Is that common, or is that kind of a rarity, or is it right in the middle?
They have. It depends. The reason we have people look at their original Main Street boundaries, because that's where the reporting has to happen. And that takes a little bit of time for people to get used to being able to report on jobs and businesses, etc. But as communities have grown and evolved, like for it's Uray, for example, they have like Section A, Section B, and Section C, where they laid out where their downtown is growing over time, that they will expand that. But I was going to mention this earlier, but now's probably a good time. Our services that we provide to communities aren't drawn within that box. We support Berthoud as Larry, our architect. He can support any business there when you're in the program with more detailed free architectural services. Doesn't have to be within that small, tight, traditional walkable downtown. He can help birth it as a whole. So don't think about the boundary in terms of what we can provide to you. Think about it in terms of who is going to be the Main Street manager that's going to be reporting on statistics, that's going to be able to measure and monitor jobs, businesses, events, etc. So, but we're not limited to that box.
Okay, thank you. Finally, with board appointments, is there any way, like with the library board, there's the board appoints and then it goes to the town board for confirmation. That has its own historical reasons. Is there any other examples of something like that, or is this typically the Main Street nonprofit always appoints their own board, their future board, I should say? And I guess if you're going to answer this at once, tied along with it, is there any way to assert that some directors come from different areas of the region?
So for somebody to be on the board, they don't have to be. They don't have to live in that boundary that they've set initially for Berthoud Main Street. They can just be a resident of Main Street or be a resident of Berthoud, excuse me. We love to see, and what we promote and what we've talked to Whitney and the whole Berthoud Main Street team about, we want to see those diverse voices on the board. So that was to answer your first question. We love to see the library, the school, the historic preservation, definitely a town liaison, because everybody collectively comes from revitalization from their own perspective. So to have all those voices at the table makes for a better plan. And then you had a second question, and I'm losing what it was at the moment.
Actually, kind of your first answer, maybe I was worried about, or just a way to ensure that there's not the
appointments.
Yeah, I don't want just a conglomeration of a bunch of directors in one area when there's a wide stance of that street that needs to be represented. I'm not saying anything against this current group that wouldn't happen. I'm just wondering if there's any other communities with an example that have that in writing or some way laid out ahead of time.
Some of the it's been more the town or city driven programs. They've actually identified in an opportunity to take applications for board members. They've identified a vast group of people that they would like to see be on the board or on a committee, so that they have the voices from their entire committee. We've been working diligently with all of Berthoud Main Street, but specifically Whitney, on saying who is in your community that are those key stakeholders. And, we'd like to see boards start with 5 to 7 so that the program is a little manageable to begin with. And then as the Main Street program evolves and grows, a lot of times those boards will end up being 8, 10, 15 people. Montrose, for example, has like 35 people on their board, which sometimes can get a little ruly when you're trying to be in a meeting and get things done. But it evolves over time.
That's perfect answer. Thank you. Yeah.
Can I add to that answer? Because I know, Facebook chats and things like that. I understand that there's a concern that right now a lot of the board members are business owners, myself included, until next week. But I think this is just how we started it, because we needed people that were willing to put in the work and people who were volunteering. We spent a lot of time talking to each other and meeting, and not only meeting as a board, but meeting at the monthly meetings with the public. And we welcome whoever wants to help and put in time. But this is who has stepped up so far is primarily business owners. That's not to say that we don't want a more diverse board. Like, bring it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have several folks signed up. I'm going to start with those that were listed under the general public comment. I moved around. We'll start with, is that all right with everybody? All right, we'll start out with Kimberly Wilhelm.
Thank you.
And again, new policy, you don't need to say your address. We have it here if you need it.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Wilhelm. I wanted to say thank you for the presentation today. There was actually some stuff covered that I didn't know was done by Main Street 1.0, as you called it. So that was really great to see. But I just wanted to speak about this from the perspective of a resident. Some of my favorite parts of living in Berthoud are the community building events that we have, and even just the historic downtown. It's one of my favorite parts of Colorado. I have gone growing up between Utah and California, and we don't have as much there. It's, areas that are developed later in our country's history. And so I've loved how the Front Range in general really protects the historic downtowns. What I think is unique about this particular program and makes me really excited is that they're merging that community building aspect along with helping business owners and just re-energizing our downtown while preserving the historic aspect of it. So I think it just checks a bunch of boxes that are priorities for our community in general, not as I know Facebook post mentioned, just businesses. I personally think that's a huge aspect of downtown, but it's not just about that. So I wanted to call that out and just say that I'm super excited about it as a resident for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Marlene Butis.
Hello, my name is Marlene Butis. I am a small business owner, Berthoud Pet Supply. I'm sorry if I'm going to get emotional, but I'm like really hurt by this group right now. And you know it. Some of you know it. And I love you, and I hope you still let me come to your stores and spend my money. I am wholeheartedly against this request, and I say that as somebody who participated in the Downtown Berthoud Merchant Collaborative Group last year, who's attended as many meetings as I could this year for the Main Street, and I'm just really hurt right now. Last Thursday, I was talking, with somebody on the board and said, hey, in terms of your presentation, there's certain things you should be adding. There's details that are missing, like what's downtown? How do you define downtown? As a person who's been in the group, I don't even know how they were defining downtown. And then I was given the image, of like 1st to 10th, Massachusetts to Welch, and I thought, my store's not in there. I am hurt by this. I've been in the group. I wanted to be a part of the original board. They told me, no, you should wait. You can, we're going to apply in the fall. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Maybe I'll do that. No problem. And then I stopped and I asked and I said, well, why? What was the rationale? The board decided. I go, no, that's not the rationale that another small business owner who's been participating in this group wants to hear. Oh, well, it needs to be walkable. Okay, well, I walk from my store to Hayes on a weekly basis to get change. So that doesn't make any sense. And when you go to the Thompson School District for elementary students, it's 1.5 miles that's walkable. From one side of Bunyan to the other side of Bunyan is 1 mile. From Massachusetts to Welch, 0.6 miles. Why not expand it? Why not start big? $85,000 is a lot of money. Why start in such a small area that is already being covered by the historic groups and we're already getting the public art? Like, why the redundancy there? I don't understand. What are we doing that's different? Pushed further. Okay, fine. Walkable. Okay. Still, I don't understand. I'm walkable. Well, you're in the industrial zone. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not a dirty word, people. Yes, I'm in the innovation corridor. And so are a lot of small businesses that participate in the community that, shout out to B-Town, shout out to Live Well and Green Tree. Thank you for your sales tax. Derby Grill, we do so much with the community. Why can't we be included from the beginning? What is so scary about that? Why is that so hard? So I just think it's really important to understand that this isn't actually about all small businesses. I was not allowed to participate at the first chocolate walk from my building because I was not on mountain. This is the same group leading this group, and I'm so sorry, but I am hurt, and I thought that there was change. I thought there was development and growth, and there's not.
Thank you, Mrs. Butis.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Rudy Taylor?
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. I feel like I'm going to be reiterating a lot of stuff that was already presented. So this is short, I promise. My name is Rudy Taylor. Besides owning a home downtown, I also own the store Wishful Living, including the building that it occupies. Plus, I'm the founder and director of Harley's Dream, a nonprofit, which is also downtown. I'm speaking tonight to encourage the town to partner with Berthoud Main Street. Over the past 16 years, I've been tremendously invested in our community, both financially and personally. I care deeply about our downtown and our town's future. But the reality is, keeping our downtown vibrant and alive doesn't just happen on its own. And we need the support and partnership of the town. Most of the people who move to Berthoud do so because of its small town charm. And if our downtown businesses and organizations don't thrive and eventually close, then much of the charm will leave as well. An active and vital downtown provides residents places to gather, shop, eat, attend events, and be a community. It also encourages pride of our town. There's also a very real economic benefit to supporting Main Street or Berthoud Main Street. Downtown activity translates into additional tax revenue, stronger property values, and more investment back into our community. The whole town will benefit. At the end of the day, investing in Berthoud Main Street is really investing in our town's economy, identity, and its future. Thank you. And if I may, I'd like to speak on behalf of Caitlin Christensen, the director of Wildfire Arts Center. Is that okay? She's just got a couple of paragraphs.
Typically, she's got to show up.
Okay.
I've never read something for someone else.
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it up to the board. Is that?
I'm fine with her doing it. If it's related to this subject, right?
It is related, yes.
Yeah, if we can fit it in with there real quick.
It's quick. Okay. Let's see. She says, Wildfire Arts Center will be celebrating its 25th anniversary next year. As a nonprofit operating within the heart of our town, we have a long history of support from the town and local businesses. The downtown businesses have gone above and beyond for years to fund and host events that benefit not only locals but surrounding communities. They have always shown up for us year after year. Wildfire supports the Berthoud Main Street proposal. This investment is about more than just infrastructure. It's about keeping the small town heart of Berthoud alive for everyone who lives and visits here. This partnership will help us build a stronger downtown and make sure that Berthoud stays a place we're all proud to call home.
Perfect. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Made it.
Melissa Feldbush.
Good evening, Melissa Feldbush. I just wanted to provide a little bit of context to what you reviewed tonight. In case some of you are having some concerns, I personally have a financial background and I have struggled with this process, mainly because it's backwards. Typically, we have a strategic plan and then we're coming up with the budget and then we're coming to you for money. And this has been a struggle for me, but I just wanted to reiterate that is the route we would have gone if we didn't have this requirement where we have to have the partnership or some sort of agreement with the town. So a lot of these numbers, I think we have so much more work to do to vet through what that looks like and how it ties to a strategic plan and how that ties to the comprehensive plan. And we're going to do that if we can become a Colorado Main Street program. So there's so much work that has to be done. So if there's some hesitancy, I just wanted to let you know that it has been a little, Whitney mentioned it, the cart before the horse. It's been a struggle, but we will get there once we have the support. So if there's some hesitancy that's being felt, please, let's get creative. Let's figure out how we can make that work. If this is something that you don't agree with right off the bat, let's figure out a way that we can come together and see this succeed, whether it's this exact agreement or something else. I just want to provide that perspective. Also, with my background, I did work with a Laramie Main Street program, and the challenge we had constantly was the boundary. And the boundary of so many businesses felt excluded. And what we evolved and did over time was changing that boundary, I swear, every single year. Whether that mattered or did not, it made a business feel included. And so I understand the challenges with that boundary, and I definitely think that is something we can work on. And then the last piece was with my previous experience, the town funded significantly getting the program up and running. But then once we got some major key events under our belt, we were able to self-fund ourselves, and a lot of grant money came towards funding administrative costs as well. So that's something that we will be working towards at the end of this 3 years, and so there's not such a large funding initiative, I would assume. So thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. David Stranathan?
Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. My name is David Stranathan. I own Asher Architects and Engineers, a downtown business, and in a few days we will be closing on 335 Mountain, so excited to be a local owner as well. That's where Bradford's historically was. I wanted to support tonight the Berthoud Main Street program. All that they've done so far, there's been endless volunteer hours put into this point, and our downtown is very important. We need to support it. Also happy to support the pursuit of being designated as a Main Street community through DOLA. And as an architect, I've worked with a lot of small business owners. I have some recent experience with Town of Windsor, and Larry with DOLA, he was a part of that project. When that client came to me, they already had done research. They knew the answers to setbacks. They had a rendering that he had done for them. They had a general contractor give them budget pricing. So they kind of knew what they were doing before they hired me, and that saved them a lot of money and a lot of time. So really support that. Larry's phone number is on DOLA's website. You can call the guy. He's like your architect on call. It's pretty awesome. He's free service. It's really great. Can't imagine any other program that would provide that. One other thing to mention, just why I know several businesses in the last 12 months have gone out of business, and some people are quiet about it, others are not, but just one example to kind of show how taxes, what the county assessor has been causing in the last few years. Bradford's, when they opened in 2018, they paid $7,000 for the year, and in 2025 they paid $43,000 for the year. So you can imagine if you're only making $5 per cheeseburger and you got to sell 8,000 cheeseburgers to pay your tax bill, you got to have half a Berthoud come buy a cheeseburger every year just to pay your taxes. So it's getting pretty tough. The downtown taxes, I've compared it with Boulder County properties. It's getting up there. It's really tough for small businesses. So just another reason why we need Berthoud Main Street. We need the support of downtown. It's going to be really hard, and that's those local jobs, the local tax dollars walking away. So that's all I had. Thank you for your time and all your support for this town.
Thank you. Thank you. Ann Karspeck.
Hey, Karspeck again. I just wanted to thank both the town and all of the trustees and mayor for all your time. I know I've been a beneficiary of the sign grant as a local business owner. I own Advanced Practice Aesthetics here as a nurse practitioner. So I know that the town is constantly working on the downtown and other businesses to hopefully provide access to things that we cannot afford. You know, $2,000 for a sign, that's a huge grant. $10,000 for a facade grant, that's a lot. Yes, there are boundaries to that. I have another clinic out in Minnesota, and unfortunately, I understand Disputus. I was 2 blocks away, so I didn't get any of the grants, and they were $10,000 at a time. So it's rough to be excluded from that, and I think we all hear that, and I definitely hear that, and I sympathize with that. So I'm a proponent of the Main Street program. I'm a proponent of being inclusive and thinking this is the time where we can plan those things out. But we do need that guiding light. We need one person who's paid, who has the time to devote to this, who can work on grant building. None of the amount of hours that everybody who's a trustee, I know how many hours you guys put in. You know, this is basically unpaid time and volunteers. Same for, this. Yes, part of it goes to the businesses, but a lot of it's not. It's stuff you might never see. So we're doing it because we love here. We're residents and we're proponents of this. So I wholly support this. I love that they put the amount back, the ROI on this. So for every dollar spent, $23 back. Okay, so let me just put that in context for asking. If the ask is for $85,000, which I will be honest, I actually don't think that's that much. mean, like for a part-time employee and the other things, that's actually quite minuscule for that return. But that is almost $2 million ROI. I mean, nobody's going to get a 23% ROI on. I just can't think of that. So that to me is a no-brainer. I think it's a very reasonable ask. But I also think that it might not just be what we see, and I know we're going to, we should be held accountable, et cetera. But there is duplicity. We're seeing this all the time, right? The town's doing things, other committees are doing things. So how great is it that if we can start finding those and streamlining and diminishing those operational costs, that really will actually bolster us as a community, but also streamline and make us more synergistic and give more money at the end of the day to the whole community so we can all enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think there's a separate sign-up sheet, but is there? So I'm sure if there's anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak, just raise your hand and I can call you forward. Okay. All right, bring it back to the close public comment and bring it back to the board now. Any trustees follow-up questions for staff or anything else before we get into the actual deliberation? Okay. Yes, Trustee Murphy.
I don't mind jumping in, and I think I heard some consistent themes from our trustees, and I don't mind making a motion unless somebody else wants to, but I'm very supportive of what's going on here. I think a 3-year trial really makes sense. Obviously, we'll have to allocate annually on that. Some of the requirements with DOLA, like the annual reporting, I think that's important for us to see along with you guys attending a meeting annually. What that report, in my opinion, should include would be financial expenditures and revenue, like the Excel sheet that was presented tonight. More data, the better. A long list of achievements that you guys have done in the past year, and then goals for the coming year, I think would be appropriate. As for the town liaison position, I'm supportive of that as well. Whether that's staff or trustee, I think we can figure that out. But for next steps, what I would propose would be sending it back to staff to craft those, the resolution, a formal agreement, and a memorandum of understanding for review. So that's all I've got, but I'm very supportive. I appreciate the presentation, and yep.
Okay, thanks.
That's all I've got.
So just a question on that. Can you just explain the variance between making a motion to approve this with your comments about going back to staffing, having them work on it? I didn't connect the two 100%.
Yeah, no, I would make a motion akin to this, and maybe I can present right now what I present. I would make a motion to town staff requesting them to create an agreement, a formal resolution, and a memorandum of understanding with Berthoud Main Street encompassing their $85,000 initial ask with the intent for a 3-year relationship, and to return it to the board for final consideration with the following requirements. Requesting an annual agenda item and visit by Berthoud Main Street, and that report to include financial expenditures and revenue, achievements from the year, and any additional goals for the coming year, with the additional caveat of having a town liaison position.
And I think that's really good. I would just maybe have just some discussion. I'm just ready to approve it.
Okay.
85,000.
Anyone
So
jumping in on thoughts right now? Thank you.
I don't need to know if we need 2 different motions, but
Okay.
I'm not quite ready to approve only because I feel like we're like 90% there. So I want to get that gap closed so that when we're going into an MOU, we all have that consensus, collective, collaborative approach, and we're ready to go forward. So there's just a few gaps that I see that I want to see. Can we, and this is where I don't know with the cart before the horse situation, if this can happen in advance, but really talking about that boundary and the district and the districting, and then additionally outlining stakeholders, especially along Mountain Avenue. I mean, you have everything from the library to Habitat for Humanity that should be in there, the fire district, the Cornerstone Cafe, like we have, and then wildfire. So just, I think for me, just wanting to see that those stakeholders have representation as outlined in our MOU is going to be really important, that they are, treated as important members of that committee. And then also just making sure that we have some type of mission for those deliverables. I know we can't come up with those maybe right now of what those exact deliverables are going to be, but what is the intention? What is the objective and outcome beyond just benefiting businesses, just benefiting our downtown? Are there key, I guess I'm curious if there are really key outcomes that we are trying to obtain. Are there key structures that we want to beautify? Do we want pedestrian? What are some of those kind of key impact areas? I feel like I need that more ironed out before I approve, because right now I'm looking at the outline budget and it's mainly for materials and events, which I think are great. I want to support those, but for me, I want to see, are there other longer term objectives, something more permanent beyond temporary events that we're looking at too. So I think I'd like to see that kind of outlined. What was the other thing? And then I think just understanding, how are we working with the chamber and the town to remove any redundancies? Like, I know we're working on art projects. I want to make sure this group is involved in that conversation and the town is involved in their conversation. Just making sure that those redundancies are working in tandem and not being redundant. And then I think I would just offer that I feel like this is so exciting. Like, this is a long time coming. I know Melissa and I talked about this years ago about Main Street needing to, have that kickstart. And so seeing businesses show up, volunteer, get excited, I think we need everybody to be included in that. So making sure if somebody's excited about it, that it's a all hands on deck situation. And so how do we create a framework where there is an inclusivity? And this is so timely and important because we are going to lose more businesses if the town doesn't find ways to strategically invest into the downtown area. And so for me, I would say I need a little bit more conversation from staff and a little bit maybe more of a presentation from them on how we bring these two worlds together for sustainability purposes. Like, to me, it's not 3 years. This is like, how do this go on for decades? And you feel fully supported by this group and not having to come every year and feel that tension. Like, this is a community effort. So, sorry, that was long.
Would you feel, though, that like some of that would need to be done with a strategic plan? Like those long-term goals?
I think just for me, even the high level, like, are there some more high level goals that we're looking at? We all know Berthoud. We know some of the needs, desires, wants for the downtown to be more activated and vibrant. Something that comes to mind is how we talked about like an actual tourism center. I've always thought like the train depot should be revitalized to be a tourism center. If we're talking about this now, I really want to have that kind of more global conversation of, should funds be, directed to something like that? And, how do we have that conversation more holistically? So I don't know if, there's kind of some bigger picture items we could look at beyond events, I guess is what I'm saying, but without having to get into specifics.
No, I find this is very, very exciting, and I think it's the commitment, I think, to the town is, exemplary. I'm wondering if some of the things, Mayor Pro Tem, that we couldn't work out, or that we could ask them to provide to us while we're working out the MOU, so that before that actually gets signed and before we make the commitment of the funds, that type of presentation be made as well. Is that what you're thinking, or in terms of timing?
Sure.
Just to make sure I understand.
And I think that's where I'm trying to flesh that out too, especially with some of the commentary we received, just making sure that we're covering the bases before we move forward. So I think we could put in some type of, like Trustee Murphy had added some different additions. I think adding additions like making sure there are key stakeholders at the table or invited to participate, putting some of those high level objectives in writing beforehand. And maybe even that's just a mission statement that kind of encompasses what this particular group wants to do for Berthoud. Kind of localizing it beyond the actual Main Street program. So I think we could add that, if that makes sense, to the ask tonight. Make that a requirement as part of it.
Part of the MOU.
One comment.
Please.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but our expenditure budget for this year is over 23 million. Is that correct?
It's actually, well, in the general fund, is that what you're referencing?
Maybe it is. Is it bigger than that? Is that
No,
just
the general fund's less than that, but our total expenditure is significantly higher than that.
Yeah, it's 23,524,000, and I'm saying these guys were asking for 85,000, and I can guarantee you they have more skin in the game than anybody sitting up here. There is nobody who wants this to be more successful than those people sitting right there. They work it every day. They've invested. They've taken all the risks. So if we want to go back, and I hear what you're saying. You know, we want to hear all the details. We want to hear all the metrics. We want to hear what they're going to approve. I'm telling you, somebody said it. I agree with them. $85,000 is not a lot of money. So again, I support the majority. You guys think we need to make them go back to staff and have it all vetted out? Okay. I'm saying I think we could approve this tonight and go and trust these people that they're going to deliver on the things they said they're going to deliver. It's my final comment.
Can I ask my peers just the boundary question? Yep. You know, how do we move forward with that in a way that we feel like it is off the get-go being inclusive and is, you know, allowing every business to feel involved? Like, how do we establish that from, you know, this approval tonight?
I have a suggestion. I'd like to hear, well, certainly from others. And I thank you. This is my struggle here too. I think one would go down to Turner, which I think actually makes sense. And then if we're stopping at 10th Street, we could go out, you know, to where Bertha Drug is and get that whole walkable area too.
Yeah, exactly.
So we could go out to Meadowlark or even to 287.
And what about 287?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, is that will eventually be built out, and that will include commercial as well that may want to have a say.
Are their hands tied because it's not historical? Are they? I mean, I don't know what the reason is. They've drawn the limits where they are.
I think that's where Whitney said, could you come up and speak to this real quick? Is why you
what's stopping them?
Is there a reason not to, Whitney? I guess expand it right there.
You know, we're just utilizing what Main Street's definition of a historic walkable downtown. You know, when we had this conversation as a board, like I mentioned, we talked about the DDA boundaries. When we were having that conversation, because I think this is helpful. One of the conversations we had was, well, we are developing these properties out there at 287, but it's still going to be the historic downtown that is going to benefit from a lot of the historic preservation initiatives. And as you guys heard, the historic preservation is a really important piece of Bertha Main Street. But obviously, yes, I mean, whatever we can do to impact businesses in our community is important. So,
what's the downside?
Yeah. Reporting.
Main Street said largely reporting. So they require, from what it sounds like, and she said more tonight than I was familiar with actually, but gathering data from all those businesses. So, which might be beneficial for the town as well to have.
What happens if a business doesn't want to participate in that? Do they require it, or is it like, so if Hayes is in there right now, let's just use, any example, they don't want to do that.
I don't know what that means in terms of DOLA's requirements. It might not necessarily mean anything. It's just helpful metrics, is my assumption.
Yeah, I too had that same concern about the boundaries. I'd like to see them be expanded a bit, and I know that might be more of a data gathering burden, but to me, I think it probably makes sense, and it's more helpful for us if we have that kind of data.
Yeah,
so
I think Madam Buddhist, talking about her area, but it might not be historic, but either is the Hayes Strip Mall or Bertha Brewery. That's not a historic building.
Say one more thing.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody for their public comment. Everything is appreciative, and the conversation is important. Also, I think that what we're having here is a larger conversation about businesses needing support in our community. And at the end of the day, this town or this group, we want to see support for downtown as businesses grow outside of town, and we want to see support for businesses everywhere. So if Main Street isn't the solution, then that's fine, but I challenge you with, please help businesses in our community.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I think back to that boundary discussion, I was just trying to get at that other areas aren't necessarily historic, but they're already included in the district or in the boundaries. So I guess I don't see a downside with going down one more block to Turner. just some reporting, and then over to 287.
Well, would this be helpful for Berthoud Main Street to craft in tandem while staff is working on their work?
That's what I was thinking.
For Berthoud Main Street to craft a statement of how they would consider to expand geographically to other businesses, along with just a general mission statement. Would that be helpful to have before us to discuss?
Like a draft on how to expand, or
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Maybe a plan for expansion.
Yes.
Kind of like, I think they were saying Uri did that, where they had section A, B, and C, and
Yeah.
how they will respond to that growth. Maybe, maybe we can reach out to them, or staff can reach out to them. I mean,
I like that.
And
to
I think-
see how they handled it.
And I think all that, those types of things can happen while we're working on that MOU, you know.
Yeah.
I like that. Great. These are great. Ooh, okay. All right.
I do have one question for staff, though. And I know
One thing, Will, you looked at me. I apologize. What's our timing? How soon do you think we could, if we do that, how fast can we turn it around?
Administrator Kirk, I think that's a matter of conversations with you guys. And I mean,
I would at least suggest a month from now, in order to like
Get the
if
MOU
we were
back.
gonna work out all the details you've discussed tonight, it's not gonna come back to you at your meeting on the 26th. Just the time to prepare those documents, go back and forth with attorneys. Like, I mean, we're talking a week away from preparing a packet for that meeting, so I'd say at least a month from now.
is that something that's going to be amenable to your group?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if we're talking about boundaries, you're also talking about us needing to have a meeting and amend bylaws. So there's absolutely going to be a time requirement. Our goal would be to apply to become an official Main Street community. I think it's late fall is the next window for that. But just keep in mind, we're also planning, I'd say one of the major hangups right now is a very Merry Berthoud planning that's happening.
Good info. Okay. So late fall is the application window, so that gives us some time.
Yep.
And we not meaning we need to take till late fall. Maybe it take a month, maybe a little more. I mean, don't want to make it too intense on staff right now, but yeah.
So can we define then what are those things that we are asking them to do in the interim? I think we talked about mission statement. We talked about boundary changes. Is there something else that, May, you mentioned some?
Sean, the resolution, MOU.
I had on the staff's end an agreement, a formal resolution, which is a DOLA requirement, and then a memorandum of understanding, which would be on the town's end to the effect. And then it would be for Berthoud Main Street to show a statement of their expansion plan. Even if that's a very simple version, I think we'd all appreciate that. And then a mission statement behind what they'd like to achieve.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Murphy. And then Mayor Pro Tem, and like a list of stakeholders.
Intentional stakeholder engagement, which I think that's part of the planning.
Part of the plan, okay, yeah.
And making sure that they're involved.
Stakeholder engagement plan.
So sounds like both sides has kind of a list of to-dos. And
So do we technically have a motion then? Do we
Yeah,
need
that.
need one?
Say motion, or may move it to schedule or create the resolution, stakeholder engagement plan, the memorandum of understanding, and then expansion plan. Am I missing something here?
I can run through it all.
Yeah, please.
If need be.
So do you want to
I've been thinking about it.
Can you just make the motion?
Sure. No, I will make a motion, and I hope I get all of this, to have town staff create an agreement, a formal resolution, and a memorandum of understanding with Berthoud Main Street encompassing their $85,000 initial ask and an intent for a 3-year plan or relationship, and to return it to the town board for final consideration with the following requirements: that Berthoud Main Street includes a town liaison position, that an annual agenda item is added before the town board and a visit by BMS, along with an annual report to include financial expenditures and revenue, achievements from the year, and goals for the coming year, and any other supplemental DOLA requirements, as well as in tandem while staff works on those things. For the Main Street, we'll create a statement of planned expansion, mission statement, and we'll engage in stakeholder engagement.
Second.
Satisfactory?
Great. We have a motion. It's been properly seconded. Motion by Trustee Murphy, seconded by Trustee Wing. Any final discussion on this?
This is probably one of the longest motions I've heard in a long time.
Bureaucracy in motion.
Thank
It's
you.
recorded.
All right. We have motion's been seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sally Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. All right. Thank you for everyone who showed up tonight for that agenda item. How does the board feel about moving forward? Take a break? Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break. Right? Let's, I'll just be fair and make it 10 minutes. Or say 5 minutes.
I know, right?
Good. Yeah, that works.
Oh. We're still missing some people.
Do you know Joan?
This is a super broad resolution.
Sorry, back. She's on
So I think it's probably fine.
Am I okay to go tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fly.
She rides her golf course.
Are we gonna fly?
That was quick.
Run around the golf course.
Karen,
Excellent.
Well,
Putting me in shame.
What's up?
no, it's all good.
I print a bunch of it off.
Well,
Oh, did you?
And
Well, I wanted to.
I don't
This
bring
was
all
like
the
134 pages. And it was like,
It's given.
alrighty.
I know, we make fun of the times you guys have.
You should. That's one way to put
I'm
it.
not sure why they're there.
Thank you all very much. We'll move on now to, I'll call the meeting back to order. We'll move on now to item number 3, Annual Committee Report of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here. We have Leslie Moore.
I should go? Okay. Well, thank you for listening to our annual report. My name is Leslie Moore.
Thank you for waiting. Let me interrupt real quick. Thank you. That 30-minute agenda item took a little longer. Really appreciate y'all showing up.
It's okay.
Thank you.
I'm here as the chair of the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. I also am an owner of one of Berthoud's historic landmarked homes, and I work as a historian and architectural historian. We have a full committee, many of whom are here. You guys raise your hands. Yeah. Thank you. So Lee, Joan, Carrie, and Courtney are here. Bella is our staff liaison. And then Andrew Wayland from the Berthoud Historical Society is also a liaison. It's been really great to have him at our meetings and to be able to collaborate and communicate with the Historical Society more. And then Tim was our board liaison, and now Karen is. So welcome, Karen. Okay, we have some by the numbers. So in the past year, we have reviewed one minor alteration request from a landmark owner, and we have reviewed 3 major alteration requests. This year, there have been no new properties added or removed from the local register. So minor alterations can include roof replacements. Oh gosh, I should have the code in front of me. Painting. And those minor alterations are reviewed by staff to keep the process moving along without getting having to necessarily wait a month until the HPAC meets again. Major alterations include any larger changes to the building, like an addition, for example, or larger renovations like the replacement of windows, doors, storefront, that kind of thing. We have continued an outreach project. We made these coasters that include facts about the history of Berthoud. They also include historical photos. And then if you flip them over, it shows a modern photo. And we've distributed these coasters to restaurants and breweries around town, just free of charge, encouraging them to use them, and so that members of the public can learn a little more about the history of Berthoud and about what the HPAC does. So there's a QR code that directs people to our new online historic walking tour. There's 4 different designs. We've redistributed a few times these coasters, and we'll continue to do so as businesses run out and want some more. The virtual historic walking tour. So online now, there is a walking tour. It's fantastic. It can be used on phones really easily, or used just on your computer, and you can have an aerial image that marks where the different local landmarks are, and then it also utilizes historic Sanborn insurance maps. So these are historical maps created every 10 years, starting the 80s that really clearly outline where buildings were, whether there are any outbuildings. And so the virtual walking tour has one of these Sanborn maps overlaid. So it gives you a little insight into what town looked like. I forget what year, is it 1920? 1920. And then if you click on the little blue icon, it'll give you a little snippet about the history of that particular landmark. And then we also have a few photos, historical photos of that landmark that you can click through. So people can find photos of their historic landmark that they own, or if you're just curious to learn more about our historical buildings, you can click through or actually walk and do the tour in person. I'd say this next thing is the really big thing we've been working on this year. It's a historic preservation plan. This is a process that started last spring. And the goal of a historic preservation plan is to outline our goals as the HPAC for the coming 5 to 10 years. It's also a requirement for us to exist as a certified local government. And it'll really drive what we want to achieve as a committee, and kind of direct us so we're a little bit more efficient at serving our community. So over the past year, there's been multiple rounds of community outreach. So there was an online survey that was available where people could provide input, some in-person events like Very Merry Birthday and Oktoberfest. And then there was also a stakeholder group meeting. So there were a large range of stakeholders who participated, including the Historical Society, the library, seniors, and many more who provided some insight on this preservation plan. There was an open public comment period and multiple reviews, draft reviews. So it's a product that should be the most useful to the town. And I think you'll hear a little bit more about that in just a second. We also, thanks with Bella's help, have initiated a new orientation process. Started this past September, where all of us new committee members are now going through an orientation process where we learn more about the goals of HPAC, our roles, our responsibilities, best practices, and we'll continue to do this orientation each year. Something that I've observed being on HPAC and then being part of the interview process is people are excited about historic preservation. They want to be part of the HPAC, but they don't necessarily know what the HPAC does or how they are going to participate once they join. So the orientation helps outline that, and then also how we can be professional and do our jobs correctly. We also have a rotating Outstanding Landmark Award. You guys have maybe seen the rotating sign around town. So we like to, we award one residential and one commercial property that is landmarked as a kind of a kudos and a thank you to those landmark owners for taking such good care of their buildings, and to recognize that we see that, we appreciate that, and we want the public to know that the work they put into their properties. And at the same time, people slow down, look at the sign, and they learn that there is a Historic Preservation Advisory Committee. So it does a little outreach for us as well. So this is a rotating award. Touched on this a little bit. Some of the community outreach we did included Oktoberfest and the A Very Merry Birthday event. And then there were multiple opportunities for public input via the online survey. Thank you.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Thank you
comments?
very much. Questions, Trustees?
No, thank you.
I think that was very impressive. It's a group that does a lot and is very dedicated. Thank you.
Yeah, Thank you
How do I
guys.
access that virtual walking tour? Just right from the website, I'm guessing?
Yes, right on the town website.
HBAC or something on the page. Great.
Or we have coasters that we were going to distribute, and there's a QR code on the coasters. Yeah.
Yes,
So you can
awesome.
scan your QR
I
code and
love
you'll be
these
taken
coasters,
right
by the way,
there.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I think following right along that is a proclamation for Historic Preservation Month. Whereas local historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, promoting economic, social, and environmental sustainability, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character, while enhancing livability and preserving our historic resources is vital to maintaining the character and heritage of Berthoud. And the Berthoud Historic Preservation Advisory Committee actively works to survey and identify properties, structures, and areas that are culturally, architecturally, or historically significant to the town. And it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. And whereas the National Historic Preservation Act has had a profound impact on Colorado and all historic places listed on local, state, and national registers that contribute to the revitalization and recognition of communities through heritage, tourism, and the preservation of historic places that honor the diverse cultural, agricultural, natural, and built environments of our amazing state. Now, therefore, I, William Karspeck, Mayor of Berthoud, do hereby declare the month of May 2026 as Historic Preservation Month. In the town of Berthoud, Board of Trustees ask each resident to join us to observe this important month and bring attention to maintaining our history in our historic places. Thank you. Go ahead and sign that. Thank you. Let's give a clap to you. Let's give a clap to you guys. Clap to somebody. Appreciate all you guys do. This is such a wonderful organization, and thank you for staying tonight. Awesome. And now we'll go on to item number 5, which is the adoption of the Town of Berthoud Historic Preservation Master Plan. We have our Community Development Director, Ann Johnson, presenting.
Mayor Karspeck and members of the town trustees. So tonight I am introducing John Shuttler, who is on attending via Zoom. He had a family emergency. He's out of state. However, he has been able to present to you this evening. The Historic Preservation Advisory Committee has been working on this plan for over 9 months. And as you heard this evening, we had community engagement events at Oktoberfest, at Very Merry Berthoud. There was also a survey. We had a stakeholders group review one of the first draft plans and then provide input that included the Historical Society, the Fire District, the Library District. The Main Street group was invited to participate. Any organization that is impacted by our historic resources, we asked them to participate in reviewing this plan. The seniors were involved as well. So we had a wonderful stakeholder meeting that in the afternoon we asked individuals to review the plan. And then we sent the plan back around after input was received by John and Chronicle Heritage, his company, so that folks could see that we actually took their input seriously. So John is going to introduce this plan. And John, if you just say ding, I would be happy to advance your slides, or the town clerk may do that as well, whatever is most convenient for you. And at this time, I would like to acknowledge, of course, the Historic Preservation Committee that were involved in reviewing this, as well as staff and John and his team. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, glad I could make this work out, and I appreciate your willingness to work with me. So I don't know if you're able to pull up the slide presentation for me there, and I can, as you say, call ding when time to move forward.
Yeah, we're working on it right now. Here, give us a second.
Okay. In the meantime, yes, just some of what you'll see may repeat a little bit of what Ann said or Leslie said, but we'll kind of run through that to get to the high points. But this has been a really wonderful process to engage with the community and just to really learn how much historic preservation and the history of the community in the area mean to the town.
We're almost there, John.
Hey, I'm on your clock, so no worries. There we go. Okay, so we started with this slogan, this tagline that is prominent and I think so appropriate for Berthoud, the garden spot of Colorado. And what does that mean and how do we define it? And in doing so, we enter the process of creating this historic preservation plan, which is based upon the community's impression of itself as the garden spot of Colorado and how best to present that. Ding. Okay.
That's literal. Wow.
I hope we're still laughing at my dings by the end, but why a preservation plan? One, to align with objectives that were stated or expressed in Berthoud's growth management plan, trying to just align what's within there with more specificity and more detail as to how you would proceed with the goals of preserving the community's history. Secondly, to gauge the community perceptions and attitudes about historic preservation in relation to those objectives in the management plan. And really, the greatest focus is to provide measurable objectives and deadlines. It's easy to say we want to do this, or some other thing, but how do you actually define how that will occur, when that will occur, and who will be responsible? And then finally, in creating a preservation plan, as part of being a certified local government, this provides you access to grants that otherwise you would not be able to access and take advantage of in meeting your objectives and initiatives. Ding. Who is involved? We've kind of covered most of this category before in terms of some specifics mentioned, but really the most important aspect is the community itself. And when we say the community, ding, we're talking about how do we get their impressions. And one of the things we did that was mentioned earlier was we took surveys or initiated, engaged with folks at the Oktoberfest event, to say, hey, can you please do it? So we had these little cards that we could hand to them that they could just QR scan. We also put posters with the similar QR code and information at the library and in the town hall. So again, please encourage you to, provide our opinion. So we got 141 participants or responses. And the most interesting aspects around several questions we thought in terms of how we gauge the community's interest in historic preservation and what to do about it in terms of a plan was one, 86% of the respondents believed historic preservation was very or extremely important. So that's good. You obviously, you want that kind of engagement. But what was interesting at the same time, 47% assessed the town only as somewhat effective in protecting and promoting historic resources. And some of that, based on answers to other questions, was rooted in maybe a lack of understanding exactly what the town and the community development department are doing or what HPAC is doing. But it also highlights the need for a plan, because if they're not really sure what is effective or if it's effective enough, then you need to be presenting that to them. Ding. So we weren't totally happy, we being the community development department, the HPAC, and Chronicle Heritage, with 141 participants, because we really want to root down into a bigger sample from the community. So we, at the Very Merry Berthoud event, we had kind of a fun idea. We took these jars of marbles or beads, and we provided them to people to pick out certain priorities for historic preservation. What would they like to see done that would, change that somewhat effective to, very effective or extremely effective. And we had a great turnout, 268 participants. And this just is sort of a ranking of what they viewed as some of the most important things in terms of how to promote best historic preservation in the community. And these then fed into the plan itself. These are the priorities. And again, at each step of this process, we're engaging with the community development department and their staff. Are you seeing the same things? going back to HPAC, are you seeing the same things? Does this reflect, and kind of continuing a dialogue, building towards what the plan should include. Ding. As mentioned, we engaged stakeholders. This is just a small sample. We did provide this to probably 24 different groups or people. These were the groups that were most, I don't want to say most responsive, but they were able to provide representation at our meeting that we had and really give some great feedback that kind of honed around a preliminary plan that was provided to them and sort of let us provide greater detail based on the response and feedback we got. Ding. So this is what it started to look like. So we came up with 4 primary goals, which are enumerated there on the left-hand side. And then those would be translated into strategies, implementing actions, and as just examples, case studies. Like, here's what we're talking about in case it's not clear what this particular action is supposed to achieve. Here's a real life example that was tried someplace else within Colorado and how it played out and how you might use some of the information provided from that. So yeah, the primary goal is strengthen and implement Berthoud's existing historic preservation program, protect Berthoud's existing historic resources, maintain town's historic character, identify and protect new historic resources with Berthoud, and promote a greater understanding of local history through civic pride, community engagement, and partnerships. Ding. So this is what it looks like in reality, is these matrices that under, it's a little fuzzy here, but so you see the goal, that initial goal, strengthen, implement Berthoud's existing historic preservation program, and then each strategy or initiative that we want to achieve within that, and then actual action items that rank the priorities so that, we're not just kind of going at things willy-nilly, but based upon the responses we got from the community, what they regarded as the highest priorities, we've ranked here, and then kind of assessing the time frames in very broad terms. Ding. And then broke that down further into actual year-by-year work plans so that, again, you're not sort of trying to reassess what's most important. We already have that information, and here's what's realistic within a year 1 or a year 2, or something that might take longer is in a year 5, and you're building towards it. So we really wanted to give specifics so that HPAC and the Community Development Department aren't kind of going back and forth. Okay, what did we decide was more important, or what should be done first? This really helps lay that out. So once all this was assembled, then it went back to all those stakeholders to take another look into the community and just say, do you see anything that we didn't discuss or that we got wrong? And thankfully, nobody came back and said that. So this became the plan, which was then forwarded to the State Historic Fund, because they had provided a grant for this, but also to the State Historical Society, or I guess in this case, the Office of History and Archaeological Preservation, for their endorsement that yes, this would be a certified historic preservation plan that then meets the criteria for a certified local government, and therefore access to some of those other grant funds that can be available. Ding. And this is what the front of it looked like. And so all those plans are enumerated within there, as I said, with very specific information. There's also just some general background on the history of the town, the existing sort of historic neighborhood and landmarks within the community, with the idea that if someone moved to Berthoud tomorrow and said, I'm a big advocate of historic preservation, and so what is the city doing? Or I'm a new member on HPAC. They have enough background information about sort of where things have gone in terms of historic preservation efforts in the community, what exists for historic resources, and what the plan is going forward, so that you could walk in blind, be handed this, and know what to do. And at the same time, serve the function and needs of the existing town government and community development department and HPAC. So there it is. Any questions?
And if I may, Mayor Kersbeck, one of the ways that you're going to be seeing this over the next few years is in your budgets and your budget requests. We're going to be using that action plan in order to look for grant opportunities to do historic resource surveys, looking for opportunities for HPAC to get involved and to spread the information about historic preservation. So in this strategic plan, we now have our marching orders, and you will be seeing that in budgets in future years on how to implement the goals.
No, I thank you for how you, I want to thank everyone for their hard work in putting this together. I was really impressed with how, first of all, it taught me a lot. I enjoyed reading it. It taught me a lot about the interplay of the agencies. So that's something I wasn't very clear on. And it also provided a really nice history summary that I thought was helpful. But what I liked the best, being someone who's a little bit OCD, is I really liked that you had the strategies lined out and a timeline for those strategies. And that I kind of thought that was all going to play into different budget years, but I really appreciated that it was broken down that way.
And any questions or other comments?
It's very good.
Yeah, I'm super excited. This is great. Thank you. To see this actually have a guiding document is awesome, since where I started in 2016, which is great organization, great crew, but now to actually have a plan to go with it. Every year things are added on, not only this marketing stuff, but this is awesome. So excited.
I do have one question.
Please.
Is there a way that we could get on the historic preservation website, like its own page, that would show the plan, the strategies, the goals, the 5-year work plan, and the progress, so that people will have visibility into all of the hard work that you guys are doing?
Of course, I believe there already is a plan. Is there a historic preservation tab?
There is a tab on the website, and we can update that with the results of the plan. I think that would be great to be able to show the community.
Be helpful.
Yeah, where you guys are in all of the steps, and just highlight everything, because there's a lot. This is a very long plan. This is amazing. So I think it should be highlighted.
Yep, and every year staff does present a report card to the town trustees, either in December or January, on the implementation of our comprehensive plan, how that's going. We also present an annual report card on our housing diversity plan. We're going to be presenting then now a report card on this plan. And Ton Hillenbrand, the planning manager, is managing the art master plan. And so she will be presenting an annual report, or report card, we're calling it, to you all and to Planning Commission as appropriate, for how we've been implementing the vision and values that have been established by the community in these master plans. So you all will receive that on an annual basis, and it's all of these plans are on the website. People can get in and look at them, and transparency is our key goal.
Are those scorecards also included on the website? Is that part of the e-notebook?
It is not part of the Planning Commission's e-notebook or the Historic Preservation's e-notebook. They are included in past packets.
Understood. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Just one clarifying question, I guess. When this gets implemented, we have access to more state grant and that type of thing. But do historical property owners have to be part of the designated Historic Preservation Committee in order to access the grant still?
There are different requirements for federally listed, state listed, and locally listed projects. And Bella, I believe you have an answer to that particular question.
So, as Anne mentioned, there are different levels of designation, and certain properties, based on their status, are eligible for different programs. However, because Berthoud is a CLG, compliance with the preservation plan requirement does open up generally our local landmarks to more grant opportunities and tax credit programs. So the benefit is felt by all landmark properties, regardless of their specific designation status.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, and our historic preservation program it's a voluntary program. We're not managing what people are doing on the inside of their house. We want it to be a fun program where people are encouraged to be part of it and want to help celebrate the history of Berthoud. So we're not at one extreme on the end. We're hoping to find that nice sweet spot in the middle where we can promote proper preservation and renovations while also encouraging individuals to be involved.
Awesome.
I just had a quick comment.
Go ahead.
I'm so incredibly grateful that this is finally coming together and incentivizing people to take those measures to preserve where they're able to. And so anything we could do to communicate that broadly is exciting, and I hope to see that on our town Facebook page and stuff like that, and in the mailers. I'm sure it'll be in our town mailers, but helping everybody know this is the move forward. And then I just had one thought, and this is maybe more for the Historical Society and them to work on alongside town staff, but I have always wanted to see the schools incorporate our history lessons in their curriculum, as well as a school play that might happen at the museum or something, just that our current students don't know Berthoud's history. And I think the only way to preserve it is for future generations to have the same creed that we do. And so I think that may not go into this plan per se, but I just wanted to say that anything we could do as a town to support our Historical Society in that school level is really exciting too. So thank you.
Yep.
I was actually just to follow up on that, because I have that listed too, because it was one of the top priorities actually from Very Merry Berthoud school programs and presentations. And I did want to ask what the if you already had an idea on a plan, or if you're working through it to bring it into the Berthoud schools, and what support would be needed.
Maybe I could chip in.
Go
I've
for
got
it.
a second grader, and they're doing a walking tour of all the historic houses in town. That ends at the historic society.
Oh, that's cool.
Next week, I think.
June 13th.
Yeah.
I know. Mine's not gonna be on there.
Anyways, I did have some questions kind of on grant money. It's been a while since I've looked at what the Park Service and the state of Colorado is offering. What is that picture looking like right now?
So in 2025, we were awarded a grant through the National Park Service. However, the funding to the National Park Service was not released by the federal government. So luckily, that state agency that was receiving those funds keyed us in and said that there is another opportunity for us to get this through the state historical fund. And so we resubmitted this application to that fund, and we were awarded that. So there are funds to, one of the next steps we would want to do is do a reconnaissance survey of every historic structure and start building our portfolio, and then working with property owners that happen to have a property within that portfolio and helping them understand what can be done without overburden some, federal listing or state listing. So Bella is starting to find out those opportunities, and in July we will be working with with HPAC and starting to do their work planning. So that we can find budget and start writing that budget in to then present to Chris and Cindy Leach in early fall, late summer for next year. And then I do want to put another plug in while we wait on this until it's officially adopted by you and approved by the state. So we don't want to really do a lot of work until you all have blessed this, so to speak. Staff and HPAC have developed a fun opportunity for mid-June, and I'll let Bella tell you about that, and then.
So, as you mentioned that you wanted to jump in on the historic walking tour that the school was doing, we are doing a live historic walking tour of a portion of the historic landmarks in town on June 13th, which is a Saturday at 11 a.m. So it'll start at the Benson Blacksmith Shop at the museum. There will be multiple stops along the way where HPAC members will tell you about a few of the landmarks and give you a quick recap of the building's history, and then we will end the walking tour.
We have our strategic planning meeting the same day.
Oh shoot, do we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, bummer.
Hey,
I was just gonna look at the calendar like I will join. No, I will not. Sorry.
You'll have to do the self-guided version
Yeah,
using the
that's
mobile
awesome.
relay tour. But yes, for anyone who's interested, there is a live walking tour on the 13th.
That's so cool. The questions? I'd like to open it up to the public just in case. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this? Okay.
I can speak real quick.
Yeah, please.
Whitney Way. I just wanted to share initially when this plan came out, I reviewed it. I asked staff, I specifically looked for layers of regulations, and staff quickly got back to me. And town clerk, Samora, also provided information on the designation of downtown as a historic district. So any concerns I had of new regulations from this plan were kind of put to the wayside, and that information was helpful. It was also helpful to see that there was originally plans for signage downtown, to designate downtown as a historic district. So that's something that I would love to see as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Great, thank you. I'll bring it back to the board here. We do have a proposed motion for Ordinance 1381. Is there any final discussion or questions, or anyone would like to move on?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Anderson to adopt Ordinance 1381, an ordinance for the Town of Berthoud adopting the Historic Preservation Master Plan. That's been seconded by Trustee Murphy. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying there. Very cool. Finally, item number 6, which is the amendment of the municipal code regarding backflow prevention and cross-connection control. It's also an ordinance, Ordinance 1380. Yeah, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and fellow trustees. Tyler Carpenter, Water Operations.
And Stan Demler, good to see you guys again. I'd say good evening, but I think we're even past that.
We got a short and sweet slide show for you tonight with a couple of the comments you guys suggested last time, and as well as a few of the public comments. We addressed those. First, we wanted to put together kind of a little timeline or a little history of the CDPHE policy. Back in 1974, that's when that Safe Drinking Water Act was enacted, I guess. And then if you go to May 2002, that's when Berthoud actually originally passed a cross-connection control program. So this isn't new to the town at all. And then somewhere in between that 2018-2019 timeframe, it was updated to what it is today. And then obviously here we are tonight trying to revise that again. And again, like I said, we touched on the comments from the public, trying to define that requirement on that RPZ device, giving us the option to waive that if needed, depending on the risk level, and then along with the language for 6.29, the new ordinance, including the Metro District. And this is kind of a comparison of a few of the surrounding communities and kind of where we fall with them. So we're kind of right in the middle. Loveland, they kind of allow the same as us, given that waiver or a less of a high risk. They don't require that RPZ device. Longmont, a little less aggressive, but you can see there's a handful of others that it's a no questions asked kind of policy. So we just wanted to include that, kind of show you where we stand. And then we ran some numbers. Granted, I could have went on with this for a while because there's a lot of variables with it, so it's hard to really dial that in. But the A column, that's currently kind of where we sit today with the customers owning that installation and annual testing. That was an average kind of number that we put together on what it's costing the town today. And this is based off of 550 devices. Granted, we have a little bit more than that right now. And this 5-year total was also if we were to stay at that 550 number of devices for that entirety. B method is if we were to switch everyone away from an RPZ and install an air gap on kind of what that would look like as far as staffing on our end from the town. And then C, the in-house, that would be total cost for us to do that annual testing and requirements. Equipment includes, a vehicle, tools, the software costs. We still have to do some sort of tracking, some administrative costs there, some drive time. That's what that year one, and then the annual employee cost, what it costs to hire someone in-house for that, plus the benefits and all that as well. So that's just a quick overview kind of what we went over 2 weeks ago.
Just real quick, we're a customer RPZ. You have in a year one town cost $42,000. What would that represent?
So that's part of that half FTE requirement, because someone still has to manage that software database, and along with testing the town-owned devices as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we currently have in our budget that we actively do now, but there's still a cost associated to what we do.
Yeah.
So the equipment and software cost is not the cost to each individual customer, but it's the town cost overall.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
That's all we had
Yeah,
for this. We
We're
kept it really
short and sweet on slides tonight.
So she's
Trustees,
the
any
second time we
questions?
talked about it.
I have none.
We had talked a couple weeks ago about potentially looking at some type of cost sharing program. Is that something that is being reviewed?
It's kind of why we wanted to go over this A, B, and C options here, and what that looks like and what it would ultimately cost the town.
Well, and that I think to show that it's not that the town incurs cost when it comes to this, whether that is, us having the halftime FTE doing what we're doing now, and that business owners are coming up with the $100 to test annually. If we were to take that all on ourselves, that significantly costs more overall. So it's, always up to you guys if you want to do a cost sharing program, but we kind of wanted to show this that it already is kind of cost shared from the fact that we are implementing the program. We're still doing a lot of this on our end as well.
What's the upfront cost, though, on average to a business? Isn't it around $3? No, it really varied last time.
It does really vary because you have to have a master plumber install these, and so it's hard to come up with the cost. The actual cost of the devices aren't that expensive, and we actually looked at RPZ versus like the double check valves and having alternatives, and
It was only like $100, $200
yeah,
difference.
the cost was like so minor, and then you start looking at the plumbers and what each individual house or business needs, and it just gets really hard to actually quantify. It could be as low as $1,000 if you have a plumber willing to do it for pretty cheap because the parts aren't that expensive, or it could be $5,000 depending on if it's a more complicated install. So we kind of went back and forth, and there was just no good way to kind of quantify that.
Because you don't know right now.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
it's such a it's
The wild guess if it was half, if we took off half the cost of all the business owners. We don't really know.
Yeah, it would be such a wide range. And even if we brought in the testing in-house, we put in that liability, that puts on the town. If, say, we fail a test and there was a backflow event, then all of that responsibility comes onto us. So putting it on that third-party tester helps the liability on the town side.
Yeah. And same with the install. If we wanted to staff a plumber to go out and put these in and things like that, that would just be a lot on the town to take on. So.
And say they damage the property or something, and then the business owner comes back on us because we hired or suggested a certain contractor.
I think some of the, Board, please interrupt me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think some of it might have been the idea that we have a fund, the business gets it done, and then maybe comes back for reimbursement of half.
I was just going to ask,
Yeah.
is there like a credit program?
Yeah.
That was I think that might
Like
have
we
been
do with
part of it.
sidewalks, kind of.
Yeah, like what you do with sidewalks.
Where you get the 3
cost
bids
share
and
with
then we'll pay.
sign code or the facade grants and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
That's why I know
currently
it's
we
hard to
don't.
do it on a first year. We just have no idea. Huh?
Yeah, and it's hard to, so most businesses in town should already have these installed, and then this is a requirement of CDPHE, so this is a state requirement of owning a high-risk business, so at what point does the town get involved and stuff like that, versus like the sidewalk program where we're not legally required to replace those sidewalks, right? Like, but this is a legal requirement of a business. So I think we had a lot of internal discussions on that, and we just, you know, wanted to give you the numbers and let you guys kind of go from there.
So, but to clarify, the low risk businesses or ones that are not operating like restaurants can receive a waiver.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
like
that was
is,
included in that language to get on that case by case basis.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, that is helpful.
Okay. Any other questions? Open it up to the public then. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak to this?
Before we move forward, could I make a motion to continue the meeting beyond 9:30 to the conclusion of the meeting?
Wow, right on the dot.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Mayor Trustee Murphy, seconded by Trustee Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Back.
Hi, Whitney Way. I'll make this quick. I've emailed with trustees quite a bit on this ordinance, so I won't reiterate concerns. Staff has put in a lot of work to address concerns in the slides in the last presentation, and then again in this presentation. I really appreciate that work. I didn't put a lot of thought and energy into this tonight, but I'd suggest an incentive program like what we are doing with signs and facades in town. And I will also admit, as I did in my email, that I've searched for similar programs in other communities and I haven't found them. So that doesn't mean that that's a reason for us not to do it. But I will admit that that was my finding. I think and hope the largest takeaway is there are layers of regulations impacting businesses, and I do believe staff and trustees are hearing that sentiment. I do want to address one more item from the last meeting with respect to this ordinance discussion. There was mention of our legal team suggesting trustees proceed with single readings of ordinances. I hope I'm corrected if that perception is incorrect. While Berthoud's home rule authority may allow for one reading for ordinances, just because we can does not mean we should. 2 readings provide an important safeguard for transparency, accountability, and community engagement. They give residents, businesses, and stakeholders time to review proposals, understand impacts, and provide meaningful feedback. This is especially critical when ordinances are adjusted between readings, as they were with this ordinance. Significant revision deserves additional public review before final adoption. I encourage the board to view second readings not as unnecessary delays, but as an investment in better decision-making, stronger community trust, and more informed policy. And hopefully I was accurate in that perception as well. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Is there anyone else? Okay. Thank you. I'll close it, bring it back to the board.
I've actually got a comment
Sure,
on
go
that.
ahead.
Whitney, thank you for bringing that up. I actually had a similar question, and I know I asked this last time, but I want to clarify. So I'm going to restate my question, which I wrote down, and we'll find in just a second. Sorry. Okay, yes, about the municipal code. I know, Berthoud is considered a town, which is different than a city. And so what I wanted to just double check to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly is that Berthoud Municipal Code, Section 4.8, Publication of Ordinances, has language that provides for a 30-day waiting period, a title-only publication in the newspaper, and a full publication on the town website, unless it's a special election or necessary for immediate safety, public health safety. So does that still apply, even though the state of Colorado identifies us as a town, we wouldn't necessarily have to follow the city regulations under Colorado revised statutes, but our municipal code does say.
That is state law. That's a repeat of state law for statutory towns, what you're reading.
Okay.
That just deals with how soon it becomes effective.
Okay, so that was my question, because last meeting I think it was that we didn't have to publish it and that it was effective right away. So I just wanted to make sure I understood our municipal code.
If I gave that impression, I apologize. That is absolutely not the case.
Okay.
The only way you can do an ordinance that's effective immediately is for public health and safety
Yeah,
reasons and
okay.
adopt it
I
as
see
an
the
emergency
confusion there
ordinance.
because you
but
did
yeah.
bring up unless it's an emergency ordinance, and then you explain emergency ordinance. So maybe there was a
So if I gave the impression that a regular ordinance would be effective immediately, that is absolutely not the case.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, and then in regard to the second reading comment, 4.6 is the adoption of ordinances, which is kind of a quick statement of that it's introduced, adopted, and implemented by Colorado revised statutes. And then it has I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but et.seq, which my understanding is that all the sections underneath it also then follow
That's
and
what that
apply.
means.
Okay. That, correct me if I'm wrong, that includes a second reading though, right?
No,
it does not. Okay.
Statutory towns do not have 2 readings. Statutory cities have 2 readings.
Right. That's what I wanted to clarify. So even though our municipal code under 4.6 it has that statement where it's the Colorado revised statute, and then everything underneath it does or doesn't apply based on that language.
It does apply. There's lots of sections in that portion of the statute, and some of those sections only apply to statutory cities, so they automatically don't apply to you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. And just to clarify, you are not home rule. Sorry, you're not home rule. I just wanted to clarify that comment. Yeah. So that the speaker said, "Berth, it's home rule authority." I just want to clarify you're not home
sorry.
rule. Yeah, that's an important distinction.
It is. Yes. Perfect. Thank you. Just to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question too.
Does it make sense? I mean, I know one of the things we've talked about is looking at all of the different kinds of business obligations, financial obligations. Does it make sense at that point when we have that discussion? I don't know whether it'll be when we talk about the strategic plan or other sometime in the near future to talk about some type of incentive program here. I understand that we can't predict what those costs will be, but you could do it in a way where you'll pay up to this much and no more, or only a certain percentage of that cost, or something like that.
I love the idea. That's just my personal view. Let's see. For some of the other things, yeah, they cap it, so it'd be half up to a certain amount.
Yeah, you could say up to $1,000 or up to $500 or whatever that is. Obviously, that is something we'd have to work into our budget, but.
Administrator Cook, do we have? I mean, it's always a matter of we have money, but where to put it. Do you see this as I guess we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about it. I don't know that we're going to solve that tonight, but yes, I have some very strong thoughts about this whole discussion. I think we should talk about, but I don't think that makes sense for this evening.
You don't for an incentive policy.
No.
Okay. When do you think that is, as Trustee Anderson's point, part of a bigger, maybe business incentive policy? Or?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think that's driven by the town board and your direction. If you want us to make that a priority over other things, we could do that. But certainly, we're in the midst of putting together a more specific economic development strategic plan. We're calling it economic resiliency plan. I've mentioned that a few times before. Just in the very early stages now, and hoping to have that done in the next 6 months. So this could be an outcome of that. I don't know that this is as our staff mentioned. I would not suggest we do that for new businesses or new construction. And if the board were to consider it, I think we'd be limited in its scope and probably limited in its application, given that, again, the majority of businesses already have those. And I think in the context of an incentive agreement for the redevelopment of a property or something else, you could already include some of this in that incentive agreement. So, I think there's a lot of ways to tackle this rather than just a guaranteed program for anybody that may need to install a backflow device. But again, I mean, I think it's a broader conversation.
I get it.
I support it. I mean, I think even if you're new to this, any way we can help helps. So if they find that we can help out with RPZs to a certain degree.
I think my argument would be, again, I think this is always the challenge, but I don't think we want to incentivize McDonald's to install a legally obligated backflow prevention device. But understanding that if it's limited in its scope and its application, there may be good reasons.
I guess that's always the tension between a corporate entity coming in or a local business wanting to expand.
And we don't distinguish typically between by the name on the building. I think that's really important that we don't do that. And so if we were saying, look, there's a defined area in which we feel there's a public purpose to be served by incentivizing this kind of installation, that's a different conversation if we broadly apply it to businesses in town, we're not going to make a decision who gets it, who doesn't, based on the name on the building. So that again, I think this is part of a broader conversation. I don't think we're going to solve tonight.
I just want to second the sentiments that I do think we know, even if we pass this tonight, we do need to have that discussion. And, I'm planning on digging into that with strategic planning. But if we don't find ways to calculate the cost of doing business in Berthoud and find ways to come alongside businesses, we're not going to see sustainable small businesses in Berthoud. And that's not a need that towns have to do, but I want Berthoud to be different in that way, that we do find a way to make it affordable to do business here. And it's not even Berthoud's fault necessarily that things are so costly, but we are pricing out our businesses. And this, I'm grateful that we're not requiring it of businesses who don't have the same criteria as like restaurants and that type of thing. So that, to me, is showing that the town does care and wants to be fair. So if we implement this tonight, I do want us to revisit the more global conversation of,
I agree,
the cost analysis of doing business in Berthoud, and then having that economic sustainability plan would be critical. So, we need to move forward.
Awesome. Any other comments, thoughts?
No, I'm supportive of moving forward with this tonight, but I'm also supportive of tackling this in strategic planning.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Good. Okay. Sounds like we're majority in support of this. Anyone like to move? This is Ordinance 1380.
So moved to adopt Ordinance 1381.
All right. There's might have been
1380.
1380, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Trustee Anderson has moved. Trustee Grace has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sorcelli Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. Okay, that concludes our regular meeting tonight. We will have an executive session after this. Administrator Cook, though, we're not taking action on that, are we? We're not going to come back and take action.
There's no action to take. I do want to point out one specific thing about the executive session. It's identified as 290 Mountain Avenue on the agenda. A member of the public did send an email today wondering if there was an issue because 290 and 270 Mountain Avenue are the same building. That's the Sunoco building, as you may recall. And we, for better or for worse, refer to it interchangeably. If you look online and you search 290 Mountain Avenue, the Larimer County Assessor's website will show you the same building as 270. So we've talked about it with our attorneys. I don't think there's any reason why we can't discuss it. It won't be in violation of any open meetings law. But just wanted to point that out.
So just for the record, if anyone watching tonight, we're talking about specifically the abandoned section.
The Sunoco building and the current lease in the Sunoco building.
Is that all right with them?
Located at both 270 and 290 Mountain Avenue.
Okay. Great, thank you. All right, so let's move on to reports, and then we will go into executive session and then come out and adjourn from there. And we will start out, let's go with Trustee Grace.
Thank you. I have a handful of things tonight, so bear with me here. So before I get into the port meeting update, I did want to ask. There's so many papers here. Actually, okay. So I wanted to ask if we have talked about using like AI transcription to summarize our meetings and generate meeting summaries to help with time, administrative costs, and usually, and it's not 100%, I definitely see issues with it, so it'd have to be double checked, but it usually is pretty thorough in capturing all the notes. But since this is recorded and there's usually a transcript with it, have we thought about utilizing AI to help with that cost or that burden?
So yes and no. The town board approves the official minutes of the meeting as you discussed tonight, and we have the video recordings of the meetings, and so fully transcribing them hasn't been a priority for the town in the past. If the board would like us to do that, I would certainly suggest that we use an AI tool to do that. I wouldn't want a town staff member to transcribe, the 4 hour long meetings, and so But no, we've not spent a lot of time considering that. We did try to do some AI meeting summaries. They were not good. And so I wouldn't ask AI to summarize the meetings, but if it was to turn them into a transcript, that might be a different conversation.
And I will tell you that we use it quite a bit where I work. And you have to be, but we also are required to go through training and retraining constantly on it. And I will say, I have some concern about using it for those types of things. It does, as you said, it does sometimes cause errors. It will misconstrue sometimes what's said. It will, so it takes a lot, particularly for a 4-hour meeting, you're going to have somebody reading through that with their notes anyway to make sure that that's exactly what was said.
And
we've had that problem with meetings. We don't use it only for internal meetings now, and we have someone who reviews it all.
The real challenge is attributing comments to specific people.
Exactly.
So when you're doing virtual
Which
meetings,
is a liability.
When you're doing virtual meetings, it's a lot different. We do use AI transcription to take meeting notes from time to time when we're doing a fully virtual meeting, because every speaker is their own mic, and so it's easy for AI to know who's saying what. That is very much not the case when everyone's in the same room. It would be a significant undertaking for somebody to go through and review that every one of those is fully transcribed appropriately.
Yes,
and again,
it's tough.
Even from a summary standpoint, our voicemail system transcribes voicemails to text, and they're hilarious to read most of the time. Because they don't, it doesn't understand what people are saying. And so going back through and catching all that, I would struggle to see the value that we would get out of it beyond the official record of the meeting, which is the meeting minutes that you approve and the video recordings that we have.
Okay. Thanks. Just wanted to
good question.
ask about that discussion. I provide updates from the port meeting from May 6th. Several topics were on the agenda. The first one was talking about bike park improvements. A couple of phases. Phase 1 is looking to be in-house. Phase 2 would be contractor and then maintained in-house. Essentially adding some skills courses, berm adjustments. That would be phase 1. The second phase would be adding a kids area, pump track, playgrounds, shade structures. There was lots of discussions on which shade structures would be more appropriate.
That's great. Shade structures out there would be great.
Yeah, larger ones. So 24 by 64 feet was, kind of that was the bigger one. But a lot of people were saying that really is the one that provides the most adequate shade. Adding some trees. There's no irrigation specifically at the bike park, so they'll be watered with the truck and and hose to get to those trees. The budget for this is looking at $200,000 for improvements, $75,000 maintenance, which has already been budgeted, and then also looking at an erosion project in the next couple of weeks to improve that. Next was the Pioneer Park Garden. Although we say Pioneer Park Garden, it's more of it's not really a garden like a community garden where people are planting things and growing things, but it's at Pioneer Park. There's a strip of land that was given to the town, and it's just been sitting there, and so now it's been identified as we're going to make it beautiful again. So beautification project, but not a community garden, more like trees, plants, native grasses, that sort of thing, with a walking path to be able to get through, and then changing the barrier, like when the road ends, instead of having like the reflective barriers, it's going to be more like rocks, and it's still reflective barriers, but more
That's awesome.
prettier than metal. And then there was a recommendation to engage with Northern Water over the summer over the plants and bushes, grasses that would be planted there. It sounds like there's a grant that we are likely applying for in the fall to be able to help fund all of that at Pioneer. The last one was the birth of the Arboretum. There was a lot of conversation and several public comments that were provided about how folks were feeling about where the Arboretum is, that the funding has been delayed until 2030. So also, as the liaison, I wanted to bring to the board's attention, there was a formal action, a formal motion that was taken at the May 6th port meeting. Specifically, the port meeting committee expresses disagreement with the Board of Trustees' decision regarding the Arboretum project and requests the board revisit this project in alignment with community desires. Additionally, port requests that staff value engineer based on bid amounts received to bring bids into alignment with budgetary allocation. So that was the motion that was brought. It was passed unanimously by the committee. There was also the committee members expressed a lot of concern about the lack of communication between the board and port since January. That was the last time they had reviewed the plans and made any comments on it. The fact that there was a 2-year budget history of the project. There's also concerns, this was from members of the committee and also public comment about potentially a negative signal that this decision is sending to future prospective donors of land and property to the town. So there's a couple of comments there. So let's see. So, I don't know how that works. How does the board formally respond to the motion?
Well, it sounds like it was more of a statement. They're just disagreeing, and they're asking us to go back to value engineering. So it'll be coming back to us anyways on the 20th.
Revisiting, yeah.
Yeah, but they're wanting a little bit more. I think they're wanting a budget back on board with it. Is that what it sounds like?
Yes, yeah, that's what it sounds like, to revisit it in alignment.
Okay.
Well, if I could jump in.
Please.
And I've been hearing the same things from Tree Committee along with a multitude of citizens out there, and it seems appropriate to me to reevaluate this after the Tree Advisory Committee presentation as an agenda item. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I agree too.
Support.
I thought we had said that in our last meeting. I guess I missed that.
It was just going to be a
Misunderstood that,
presentation.
Just the presentation.
But there's been no reevaluation of that decision, I think.
Okay.
I'll have more after that.
Okay. Yep. No,
Yeah.
that was what I had.
Oh.
For updates.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's go to Trustee Lee.
Yeah, there was a week ago. It was excellent. There was a housing at a crossroads presentation. I think we had gotten some communication on it ahead of time. It was fantastic, except it was incredibly depressing. I just was going through it, just like literally right now, I'm just looking through it. And 80% of households that can't afford the homes available, 80%. And, you know, one of the comments, I know one of our biggest employers in Bertha just left recently because of Colorado state law. And then the comment was made tonight, somebody, don't quote me on this, the property tax went from $7,000 to $40,000. I don't know about you guys, that's disgusting. And we just keep doing, you know, we don't really want to hear what they have to say. We don't really want to change things. And I'm not directing that at this group, but businesses, individuals, it's just, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's, you know, the American dream is almost gone for 80% of the people. How sad is that? So anyhow, I asked, there were a bunch of empty ones of these, and it was pretty cool, but this document followed the PowerPoint presentation. And so I asked for a bunch of these. So I know Ann has a whole stack of these. Wonderful. And it's a nice, easy read. And I think your eyes will, your jaw will drop and your eyes will open when you read this. But I would say if we don't proactively get them a copy, I'd ask you to ask Ann, so I know she has plenty. But
we'll leave a copy in everybody's mailbox.
Yeah.
We could also bring in the foundation, do that.
Wow. That I think there'd be so much value in
We have
that.
our own committee. Yeah, we could just ask them to do it.
That'd be awesome. Anyhow, it was very well done presentation. Good speakers, good panels, and I think you had at least 3 or 4 people there from staff. So anyhow,
The numbers are staggering. You know, Sean and I probably remember when we attended the Housing Diversity Study Committee meetings when we had testimony about the numbers from different organizations, and it is depressing when you look at who can afford a home and who can't, and how that number's getting larger and larger and larger.
well, and then what compounds that is I walked a site yesterday, a construction site in Fort Collins with a developer. He builds apartment complexes, and we're walking, and it was nice. You know, the unit, he had 1 and 2 and 3 bedrooms, and some were 650 square feet, whatever. And I said, how much do these rent for? He said, 2,500. And I'm just thinking to myself, somebody making even $20 an hour, even $30 an hour, you think of how much their net income is going to pay rent, and it's got to be over 50%.
That's the estimate.
So
that's why you see, where you see young people, and particularly that one in the one age group that's growing by leaps and bounds, getting together, and that there be groups of them rent a 2-bedroom.
Sure.
That's the only way they can afford it.
well, I think we're one of the top 5 states, maybe even less than that, in homeowners insurance. We all know kind of what happens when you're part of a metro district, which majority of neighborhoods in our metro district. So, property taxes, and you just take those three things, and look how many people you take out of the equation. But anyhow, take a look at this, and it addresses a lot of what you brought
If
up.
I can make one comment on that too. I met with the House and Relief Services this week too, just to catch up on some things. And as this issue grows, we're having more need and demand in our community for assistance for people who are struggling to pay their mortgage and the increasing cost. And so, I think we need to make sure that we're continuing to have conversations with them on how we can keep assisting with whatever needs there are in our community to keep our people in their houses and prevent homelessness in Berthoud. And then also how to educate the public on strategic affordable housing developments and initiatives, because if every development we receive has a negative connotation just because it's development, we're not going to be able to build affordable houses. 100%. We're not going to be able to have projects that are intentionally targeted toward these groups.
Yep.
Like I have a 19-year-old kid that can't afford to move out, and she's working really hard, and so we're trying to figure out how to expand our house and whatnot, and that's just as expensive apparently. So, how do we have these conversations, more rapidly, and help the public come alongside these ideas and concepts?
Part of it's publication of those kind of numbers. People need to understand how difficult the problem is.
But the narrative is, I want it, we need it, but not in my backyard, not next to my neighborhood.
I think the local stories will help.
And
I just think it's real. It's good.
I don't want a small lot next to me. I don't want a small house, and it's like.
I'll say some of the presenters on that, I didn't think they did themselves any.
Oh, you were there.
Yeah. I mean, when Fort Collins was saying we have to make a choice now between more parks and more people, and we need to choose more people, I was like, maybe there's a better way to frame that. If we tried to say that here, I don't know how far that would
At least, and she also said at Fort Collins, we just think we have to do everything at the highest level, 5-star, and we pay for that, right? And then I thought there was a person up there from a company, and they said, you charge, I'm making this up, but you charge us $10 million, and of that $10 million, 6 went to parks, 2 went to trails, but that's not what it was for.
The developer,
and so
affordable housing.
anyhow, there's a lot of stuff to look at.
And you're right. The stories are what is really going to get people more aware. We have many of them at Habitat, and they tear at your heart. I read one the other day about a family, and it really, it's like coloring in the lines and seeing what's really happening when you hear some of these stories.
And this is our community, not focused on bringing in, outsiders, but in people in our community that are actively hurting, and how to meet that demand to me is important. So thank you for bringing that up.
Anyhow, thank you. That's it.
Trustee Anderson.
Well, we did last night have a historic preservation committee meeting, advisory committee meeting, and they were really preparing for the presentation this evening.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of their meeting. They also they did have someone apply to remove the designation, and they voted to, as opposed to voting to recommend to us that they remove their historic preservation designation, they decided to have discussions with them first, see if they could help them through a process that would do what they want to do. So we'll see if that happens. They did have some discussion. They feel like there's a certain historical significance to the words, to our current motto, Garden Spot of Colorado, and we're concerned that that the branding movement might cause us to eliminate that. So they had some discussion about that. That was pretty much the gist of the meeting.
I could speak to the branding thing a little bit. So that's still in process, and that should be coming back before us in the next meeting or two. But that working group has really, dived in. Like, if we're going to talk about branding and logo and our slogan, let's look at are we happy with it? What would change if we could change it? And there's definitely a mix of people that said we historically love the garden spot, and then the other rest who are talking about marketing it is the hardest thing to do because people come in and don't understand it. And so if there's opportunity to take something from that and expand on it or play off of it, so they're having that conversation, but I think we're still waiting to get some kind of congruity of thought from the entire group to see what the presentation will be to the board, and then the board gets to decide. So the working group is just presenting, but everyone here gets to decide on the final. So that will be interesting to see.
So obviously a diversity of opinion, right?
Right.
No, that's it. That's
Okay, thank you.
pretty much what they talked
Oh,
about.
that's great. Trustee Murphy.
Oh, just one other
Yes,
thing.
please.
Just remind people of that walking tour. I know we can't be
Yep.
there, but I think it would be good if word of mouth,
Yeah.
as much as we
Promote
can,
it.
with the walking tour. Sorry.
It's all good.
There you go. It's on Main Street's website. Trustee Murphy.
Yeah, just wanted to brief you guys on a couple of things. I brought up Bill SB 26-100, which was on youth sports and some of the training and requirements. That, I believe, died in committee, so no further action on that. Let's see. Had some additional discussions with Commissioner Shattuck McNally. She'll probably be sending us some more pine beetle information. No time on any kind of meetings or anything like that, but no, the pine beetle doesn't directly impact the town, but obviously our forest to the west is full of that, and it's going to impact us from a district perspective. Also been having some email back and forth with Chief Charles on the wildfire protection, or would be the community wildfire protection plan. I sent you guys that information. They're in the process of updating that stuff. Obviously, with recent events, it seems very worthwhile to kind of dive into that and for all of us to kind of be knowledgeable about some of that stuff. Let's see, beyond that, tree committee stuff, we're very busy over there. They had their meeting on the 4th. Typically, it's on the 3rd Monday. We had it on the 1st due to some absences, including my own on the 3rd. Largely, the discussion revolved around American Bloom. We had Chris Friedman attend there and kind of give his spiel on the program. The committee was generally supportive of that. We talked about Birthday Day, where we'll be hosting a booth and some of the time slots for that. We're also going to be handing some stuff out to the public. Obviously, pine beetle, but emerald ash borer is a big deal to discuss with the community. Again, it hasn't hit us hard yet, but it will. Let's see. And then the Arboretum discussion was kind of the focus of a lot of it. They largely were discussing on how to go about creating a presentation to stay within public meeting laws. So they are assembling a PowerPoint presentation as we speak. It's my understanding. They will be holding a work session here on the 18th, which is their typical meeting time, to assemble that in front of the public and talk about comments. And right now, as they are still on track to present on May 26th. Let's see. We also had additional public comments on the Arboretum, generally supportive. Let's see. Beyond that, we've had some additional talk about like trees around town and which ones are served by irrigation as well as which ones staff has to deal with. The bike park is a good example of that, where they actually need to go out and manage those trees. So they are trying to add shade to those locations as well as key locations throughout town, but it's really hard for our staff to get out there with water trucks and do that regularly, especially with the conditions right now. But beyond that, I don't think I have anything else to add. And if I get more info, I'll share it with you guys. But nothing else.
Is there a running tab of how many affected EAB ashes we have, or ash trees? Does Paul keep count? I'm sure he does.
I don't know how much of that can be shared publicly right now. It's a handful.
Okay.
But there's possibly, I think, 800 within the town's inventory that could be impacted or die because of this in the coming years.
Could be, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not public, but there is keeping a tally of how many are.
Yeah,
he could confirm.
he's tracking what he's seeing. You know, one thing we're trying to do from the committee perspective is they're trying to get out there and share information on identifying these trees. Obviously, having more eyes on the problem is important. And we've got those on the forestry webpage to kind of show people what kind of signs you'll see out of a ash tree. So any way you guys can get that information out there is great. We're going to do more social media posts on it and stuff. So that's kind of where the tree advisory committee's at right now. So
great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a comment on the Arboretum that I don't know if, as you guys have discussions with these groups, you know, how do they see the drought? If they, you know, if there's opportunity to have them talk about the impacts of that to this project, I think that'd be super helpful. And then also, just to staff too, you know, just wanting to know how soon we could put restrictions in. I feel like a lot of our neighboring communities have taken those steps already, and it feels like Berthoud is lagging. And I just have concerns about our water conditions, and if we don't take action, it does make it hard to look at projects that are requiring water with that in mind. And so if we're, you know, seeing that we need to put in restrictions and we're looking at filling up a pool or putting in trees, I just want to look at that all in tandem and making sure that and even if the Arboretum, you know, there's water, you know, attached to that property, what is the public appearance of watering that property so extensively when we're asking the townspeople to not water and not water often? So just having that all kind of be wrapped in a bow of how we do that, and it's, you know, making it seem fair and also protecting that resource. So, and then the other thing too is I just wanted to encourage, you know, I love when, and there's always good intentions, I'm sure, behind these things, but I love when we connect with our community leaders and become informed and really dive into what, you know, people are experiencing in our community so that we have great information coming in here. But I have noticed some issues with when we start to operate as a liaison for the town of Berthoud to a leader in the community or stakeholder, that can cause some confliction. I've just talked to a few leaders in the community and just making sure they know we're there to receive information and not to act on behalf of town staff or interfere with staff dialogue with community leaders, just to make sure they feel like they know they go direct to chain of command or hear directly to the entire board, so everyone feels like, you know, we're part of that conversation and there's no hidden backdoor kind of conversations or promises being made.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. Just to be clear, the library did, the president wanted me to be there for their meeting on Wednesday night. I don't see an issue with that.
No.
Okay. Well,
no. And that was more general than specific, just something I've observed.
This is a follow-up conversation from Administrator Kirk and I had with our librarian. So I just thought, yeah, no, that's a great point.
More of like giving direction on behalf of the town or acting as that liaison between staff, and that can get a little, you know, giving direction outside of the authority of the board could be.
I just want to confirm with Trustee Wing. That was great. Well, actually, I started the day before. Mary and I are on the NOCO Foundation, which is the same group that put on that conference. So on Monday, we got to see Turner Middle School students essentially assign, was it $5,000 to local nonprofits? I think it was right, Trustee?
Yeah.
Maybe it was more than that. Either way, it was just great to see young guys and young gals present on these nonprofits and have the nonprofits come up and kind of accept those awards. So it's a great way to just introduce philanthropy into a younger generation and get them involved in hopefully being on future boards for nonprofits. Tuesday was a great, I agree with Trustee Wing, that was eye-opening. I actually liked the program because it does have some solutions in there too, some kind of practical stuff. Let's see. Wednesday, awesome birthday business appreciation breakfast. So thank you to staff, and I was really impressed with the turnout given the snowstorm. So also kudos for staff with that snowstorm. I have old trees around my house, and unfortunately half of them decided to come down that morning, and staff cleared just streets of stuff by the time I woke up. So there's a big equipment out there pushing stuff to the side all throughout downtown. So I thought, great job on you guys. Thursday I had an NPO meeting. Nothing really to report there. Just an update on demographics and aging populations in Weld and Larimer. I think it's a theme throughout all these things that Larimer's population is aging, while Weld's is getting younger. Young families are able to move into Weld, not into Larimer. Kind of an ongoing issue. And the MPO next month, I think, Clerk, you know about this, but that'll actually be here in Berthoud. So we'll have all the elected officials from Larimer and Weld, well, a representative from every municipality in Larimer and Weld, plus commissioners here. So you guys are invited. I'll send out, if you guys want to have dinner too, we'll have dinner here for them. Sometimes when this is in other communities, their trustees or council members, if you want, we'll just show up for dinner. No pressure at all. Way to meet people. And that's all I have.
I did remember a comment about the business appreciation breakfast. Amazing turnout. It's my favorite group of people in the town. Like, that's just all the doers and amazing people. One thing that I took away from it was when we do, like the economic outlook of the region, the nation, it is a little bit depressing, and it can feel heavy for a local business who's saying, like, what's our part, or what's Berthoud's kind of part or solution to this. And so just a thought for maybe future years, it'd be really neat to have a business appreciation breakfast that's like just celebratory, honoring the local people that are really involved, something a little bit more grassrootsy, and then maybe having that economic outlook as a presentation, as an aside that we can send out at some point during the year that kind of gives them that perspective, along with, Brian DuBois can, maybe point to some actionable items for businesses to take away of, here's how we can counteract some of these issues, how can we maybe advocate at the state level as a group, those kind, I think just some takeaways from business appreciation I thought might be nice to consider.
Awesome. Turn it over to
That's
staff.
it.
Any updates?
Just a couple of quick things. You asked us at the end of March to get an opinion of cost on installing lights at the pickleball courts. The numbers came back in the $130,000 range. So if that's something you want us to pursue, we could put that out to bid, get a formal bid cost. But that was just in consultation with a couple of lighting providers. So just rough order of magnitude for you there.
Thanks.
And then I know there's been a lot of talk about County Line Road, which I think has been an ongoing frustration for everyone in town, including town staff. I think I gave a little bit of an update previously, but current status is that the developer doing the construction has currently scheduled to complete County Line Road in mid-August. That is well beyond what they had originally committed to, which was also well beyond what they had originally committed to. So we are pursuing available legal remedies as quickly as we can. Without getting into a whole lot of detail, is the last recourse is for us to take their surety that they provide when they begin construction of a project like that and do the work ourselves, or leave it unfinished, which we of course wouldn't do. The time to do that would be significantly longer and more expensive than allowing them to finish. So as long as they're continuing to work towards completion, we're going to continue to drive them as hard as we possibly can. But once the road is torn up, the only alternative is to put it back, and we want them to do that. We don't want to have to take their surety and do that ourselves. Because again, that's a time-consuming and expensive process. So we recognize the frustration. We share that frustration. I think the town is covered, but the stick to get them moving faster is not as big as maybe we would like it to be. So we'll be looking at how we handle those types of issues in the future very differently.
If I could jump in, thank you for providing that update. And just to add to that, I know there's limitations on what we can probably say at this time, but anything that we could get out to the public on this would be really appreciated via social media or whatever.
I am admittedly hesitant to send a whole bunch of information out via social media with dates and those kinds of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
The developers already missed their projected dates multiple times, and we don't control their construction schedule. And as frustrating as that is, I don't have a relationship with their contractor, and so, or the town doesn't have a direct relationship with their contractor.
I mean,
So it's a tough situation.
'Cause I'll get asked
It's
at a
hyper
meeting.
negative,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's no positive comments coming from the public, and rightly so.
Sure.
I think it's what you said is a great thing. I mean, I'll be asked this too, and I have in the past. I didn't really have a good answer, but I think just briefly to say that, yeah, we are pushing this guy or them as hard as we can, but is it fair to say that we are looking at legal remedies if they don't make the October deadline?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. I think that's fair. Okay, cool.
I did have a question from the public about access to the cemetery. Does it go to more north than Mountain Avenue or Highway 56? That construction, I haven't really seen, and it's torn up, so I can't access that. But is
No,
there
they can access the
from
cemetery
north?
from the north.
Okay.
Last time I drove the road, I could get in there.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And we've been working with them on enhanced detour signs to make that explicitly clear.
Okay, thank you.
But
very
you
much.
can still access the cemetery.
I believe the detour signs are in place.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, I know that was something Christian was working on.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
All right. Anything from council?
No.
Okay. Chief, anything? No. Okay, thanks. Let's move on now into executive session. Would anyone like to move us into that?
So moved.
We might have to read the particular wording here.
Oh, that's right, you have legal wording.
Yep, I'll give it to you.
We'll just a super quick break.
Yeah. Well, look, hold on real quick. Let's just,
Okay.
we gotta make a vote on that. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Do I read just this part here, right?
Mhm.
Okay. You ready for this? All right. I move to go into executive session pursuant to CRS Section 24-6-402, subsection 4EI, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing a strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators regarding 290 Mountain Avenue.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Trustee Anderson has moved on this executive session. Trustee Murphy has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sally Albrecht,
Yes.
Trustee Grace,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Karspeck.
Yes, excellent. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then, Clerk, do you want us to go into the back room here? Chris?
Yes, please.
Okay. And then, after that, we need to come back out and then close.
No.
No, we're
You're
good.
okay to adjourn.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, excellent.